The Four Seasons private dining room dripped with old money pretension. Crystal decanters caught afternoon light while Chicago's most privileged family, mine, unfortunately, gathered for the quarterly Blackwood Trust meeting. I adjusted my second-hand blazer, feeling the familiar weight of being the family's greatest disappointment. Oh my God, who let her in? My cousin Sloane's voice cut through the pre-meeting chatter. Madeline actually showed up. I kept my expression neutral as I took my seat at the massive mahogany table. Around me, 13 members of the Blackwood family shifted uncomfortably, designer labels rustling like nervous whispers. She's still technically a beneficiary, Aunt Catherine stage whispered, her Hermes scarf fluttering with disapproval, though heaven knows why Harrison didn't cut her off years ago. Harrison, my father, didn't look up from his iPad. He hadn't really looked at me since I turned down a partner track position at Blackwood Capital to start my own investment firm. That was 5 years ago. 5 years of being the cautionary tale at family gatherings. Madeline, my brother James called from the head of the table, his voice carrying that special mix of public school polish and private condescension. The trust meeting is for active family members, people who actually contribute to the Blackwood legacy. I opened my laptop, not the latest MacBook like everyone else's, but it served its purpose. I'm still a shareholder, James, however small my stake might be. Sloane laughed, the sound sharp as broken glass. 3%, barely enough to afford your rent in Logan Square. She gestured to my clothes with a perfectly manicured hand, though clearly, you can't even manage that. If they only knew the truth about my struggling investment firm, Meridian Capital, if they could see the real numbers behind the algorithm I'd spent 3 years perfecting, the one that was about to reshape the entire financial sector. Let her stay, Harrison finally spoke, not looking up. Maybe she'll learn something about real success. Real success. I thought about the email I'd received this morning from James's firm, Blackwood Capital Partners, begging for a meeting with the mysterious CEO of Meridian Capital. They had no idea that the Blake they were so desperate to meet was sitting right here, wearing a Target blazer and cursed with the Blackwood name. Now then, James continued, straightening his Rolex, let's discuss the trust's performance this quarter. As you can see from the reports. I tuned out his self-congratulatory speech, instead pulling up my own data. Meridian's algorithm had predicted every major market shift for the past 18 months. We'd quietly accumulated controlling interests in key tech firms, renewable energy startups, and yes, several of Blackwood Capital's most promising investments. Especially exciting, James was saying, is our position in TechFuse Solutions. The IPO next month should double our initial investment. I bit back a smile. TechFuse IPO would never happen. Meridian had already acquired 51% through a series of shell companies. The announcement would hit tomorrow morning, right after I revealed myself as the actual owner of the year's most talked about investment firm. What's so amusing, Madeline? Sloane's voice dripped with disdain. Found a coupon for business suits that actually fit? Just enjoying the meeting, I replied mildly. Tell me, James, have you looked at TechFuse's actual financials? Or did you just follow the market buzz? The room went quiet. James's jaw tightened. I don't need investment advice from someone who threw away a career at Blackwood to play day trader in her apartment. Interesting perspective. I pulled up another screen on my laptop, because according to SEC filings, Blackwood Capital just requested an urgent meeting with Meridian Capital. Something about needing emergency funding for, what was it? Oh yes, unforeseen market volatility. Color drained from James's face. How did you know about that? I make it my business to know things. I stood slowly, smoothing my off-the-rack blazer, like how Blackwood Capital's last 3 major investments were based on manipulated data, or how the trust's record returns are mostly creative accounting. That's enough, Harrison snapped, finally looking at me. If you're just here to cause trouble dash. Oh, I'm here for much more than that. I turned my laptop around, displaying Meridian Capital's true portfolio. I'm here to save this family from itself, whether you like it or not. Sloane leaned forward, squinting at the numbers. Her perfectly contoured face went slack. That's not possible. These returns are very real. I finished. Would you like to know what else is real? The fact that your entire firm is about to be audited by the SEC. Unless what? James demanded, his arrogance cracking. Unless you take a meeting with Blake. I smiled, enjoying the confusion on their faces. I hear she's very interested in acquiring distressed family firms. Aunt Catherine clutched her pearls. Blake? The mystery billionaire everyone's been trying to meet? The very same. I began packing up my laptop. Her office will be in touch about that meeting. James. Oh, and Sloan? I paused at the door. This blazer? It's actually Armani. I just let you think it was cheap because your snobbery makes you sloppy, rather like your investment strategy. I left them sitting there, stunned and silent, knowing that tomorrow would change everything. The email would go out at 9 a.m. sharp, revealing M. Blake's true identity. By lunch, the financial world would know that the year's most successful investment firm was run by the Blackwood family's greatest disappointment. But first, I had a stop to make. The same coffee shop where I'd sat 5 years ago, after walking away from Blackwood Capital, where I'd written the first lines of code for what would become the most powerful financial algorithm in the market. The usual, Ms. Blake? Marco, the barista, was the only person who knew both my names. Thanks, Marco. I settled into my corner table, the same one where I'd built my empire in silence. My phone buzzed, probably James or Harrison, finally putting the pieces together. I let it ring. Tomorrow would come soon enough, and with it, the complete reshaping of the Blackwood family legacy. But tonight, I'd enjoy my coffee and remember how it felt to be underestimated. Sometimes the biggest mistake a family can make is not recognizing the power of the person they've written off. The next morning, I arrived at Meridian Capital's downtown office an hour before sunrise. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a pristine view of Chicago's skyline, the city still sleeping, unaware of the earthquake about to hit its financial district. Everything's ready, Ms. Blake, my assistant Sarah said, setting a coffee on my desk. Unlike the Blackwoods, she knew both sides of me, Madeline the outcast and M. Blake the billionaire. The press release goes live in 30 minutes. I nodded, scanning the morning's reports. Blackwood Capital's stock had already started slipping, whispers of instability spreading through early trading in Asian markets. James must be panicking by now. Right on cue, my phone buzzed. Harrison. Madeline. His voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk about yesterday. Actually, Dad, you might want to turn on CNBC first. I kept my tone light. Something interesting is about to happen. Before he could respond, Sarah appeared in my doorway, tablet in hand. It's time. I ended the call and turned to the wall of screens dominating my office. Right at 9 a.m., the news broke across every major financial network. Breaking, Meridian Capital founder revealed, M. Blake identified as Madeline Blackwood, mystery billionaire M. Blake connected to prominent Chicago family. Meridian Capital announces acquisition of TechFuse, blocking Blackwood Capital IPO plans. My phone exploded with notifications, messages from family members, journalists, industry analysts, but the one that mattered most came from James's private number. Emergency board meeting, 10 a.m. Don't you dare ignore this. I smiled, straightening my actual designer suit. Chanel this time. No more hiding. Sarah, call my car. Time to crash another family meeting. The Blackwood Capital offices occupied the top 3 floors of a sleek downtown tower. I'd worked here once, back when I was trying to be the daughter Harrison wanted. Now I walked through the marble lobby as a conqueror, not a conformist. Ms. Blake. The security guard nodded, using my chosen name, not my family one. Word traveled fast. The executive floor was chaos. Assistants rushed between offices, phones rang unanswered, and the usual polish of a top-tier investment firm had given way to barely contained panic. Thank God you're here. Sloan ambushed me by the elevator. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide her desperation. You have to fix this. The market's in free fall. Fix what, exactly? I stepped around her. Your failed due diligence? The overleveraged positions? Or just the general incompetence? The boardroom was packed. Every Blackwood who mattered sat around the massive table, faces pale beneath their expensive tans. Harrison occupied his usual place at the head, James standing beside him like a guard dog. Well, I settled into a chair, smoothing my skirt. This feels familiar, though usually, I'm the one being lectured about responsibility. How dare you? James slammed his hands on the table. You deliberately sabotaged this family dash. I saved this family. I cut him off. Would you like to see what would have happened to Blackwood Capital without my intervention, Sarah? My assistant distributed tablets showing projection models, the slow but inevitable collapse of the firm under James's leadership, bad investments, missed opportunities, and a fatal inability to adapt to changing markets. This is impossible, Aunt Catherine whispered, scrolling through the data. These returns, Meridian Capital's growth, is very real, I confirmed. That algorithm you all mocked? The one I wasted time developing instead of following the Blackwood path? It's revolutionized predictive market analysis. While you were chasing the same tired strategies, I built something new. Harrison hadn't spoken yet. He just stared at the numbers, decades of certainty crumbling before him. The TechFuse IPO? James's voice was hollow. Is dead. Meridian owns controlling interest now. I leaned forward. Along with majority stakes in half your portfolio companies. Would you like to know what else I own? Sloan made a choked sound. The algorithm predicted all of this? Every move, every failure, every opportunity you missed because you were too arrogant to look beyond your own assumptions. I stood, commanding the room just as Harrison had taught me, back when he still thought I was worth teaching. Now, we have two options. 1, I continue acquiring your assets, and Blackwood Capital becomes a cautionary tale in financial journals. And the second option? Harrison finally spoke. A merger, Blackwood Meridian Capital, your legacy and my innovation. I pulled up another document, but with some significant changes in leadership. The room erupted in protests and accusations. I let them rage, remembering all the times I'd sat silently while they dismissed my ideas, mocked my choices, treated me like a charity case instead of the powerhouse I'd become. Enough, Harrison's voice cut through the chaos. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. You planned this all along? I planned to succeed, I corrected. You're the ones who made it personal. Every snide comment about my clothes, my apartment, my choices. Did it ever occur to you that I lived modestly because I was investing everything in building something revolutionary? James sank into his chair, deflated. The mystery billionaire everyone's been chasing, our own sister. Cousin, Sloan added weakly. All those times we invited you to charity galas. And seated me by the kitchen? I smiled. Yes, I remember. Just like I remember every time you called me the family mistake. Tell me, who's the mistake now? Harrison stood abruptly. What are your terms? I distributed the merger proposals I'd had prepared for months. Full integration of Meridian's technology, complete restructuring of leadership, and a new direction for the Blackwood legacy, one based on innovation, not inheritance. And if we refuse? Then I continue acquiring your assets until there's nothing left to merge. I met his gaze steadily. Your choice, Dad. Though I should mention, the market's still falling. The next hour was a blur of negotiations, legal terms, and wounded pride giving way to survival instinct. By lunch, the merger was announced. Blackwood Meridian Capital was born, with M. Blake, not Madeline Blackwood, as CEO. One more thing, I said as the lawyers packed up. Those monthly brunches you all love so much? The ones I could never afford to attend? Sloan flinched. Madeline, we dash. I own the restaurant now. In fact, I own the entire block. I gathered my things, savoring their expressions. Next month's reservation has been cancelled. You'll have to find somewhere else to discuss my failures. The aftermath was everything I'd dreamed of and more. Financial networks ran endless stories about the algorithm that changed investment banking. Profile pieces praised the visionary leadership of M. Blake, the outsider who revolutionized an industry. The Blackwoods adapted, as old money always does. Suddenly, they'd always seen my potential, always supported my dreams. Funny how success rewrites history. Harrison tried to apologize. In his way, I should have seen it. He said during our first official board meeting, you're more of a Blackwood than any of us. No, I corrected him. I'm something entirely new. That's what you never understood. I kept my old laptop, the one they'd mocked as outdated, put it in a glass case in my new office alongside the Target blazer and those first lines of code. A reminder that sometimes the biggest mistake a family can make is underestimating the quiet one, the different one, the one who sees a different path. Sloan and James eventually found their places in the new organization, smaller offices, smaller titles, smaller egos. They learned to knock before entering my office, learned to value innovation over tradition. And those monthly brunches? I still don't attend, not because I can't afford them, but because I'm too busy building something bigger than the Blackwood name ever was. Sometimes success isn't about proving your family wrong, it's about proving yourself right. And sometimes the greatest revenge isn't taking over the family business, it's transforming it into something they never imagined it could be. The end.
The text message from Maxwell lit up my phone. Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful. Made dinner reservations at Giorgio's. I stared at it, then back at my computer screen where the damning evidence glowed. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the transaction history. $5,000 last month, $8,000 the month before, regular transfers to an account I'd never seen before, all from our joint savings. I'm Joanna, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I was living the dream. Bank manager at 36, beautiful home in the suburbs, and what I believed was a rock-solid marriage of 12 years. Funny how a routine audit can shatter everything you thought you knew. "Hey Joe, you okay?" Marley poked her head into my office. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm fine," I lied, quickly minimizing the screen. "Just reviewing some accounts." She lingered in the doorway. "The quarterly reports can wait. Come grab lunch with us." "Thanks, but I need to finish this." After she left, I pulled up the account details again. The name on the receiving account jumped out at me. Bianca Smith. The profile photo showed a stunning younger woman with perfect makeup and carefully styled blonde hair. My stomach churned. I picked up my phone and called Diego. "Hey sis, what's up?" My brother's voice was cheerful. "Can you meet me after work? I need your help with something." "Everything okay? You sound weird." "Just, please." "Giorgio's at 7. The Italian place. Isn't that where Maxwell's taking you tonight?" "Change of plans. He won't be there." I hung up and opened my drawer, pulling out the stack of cards Maxwell had given me over the past year. Birthday, anniversary, Valentine's Day. Each one filled with flowery promises of eternal love and devotion. The same cards I'd treasured now made me sick. My phone buzzed again. "Maxwell. Wearing that blue dress I love?" I typed back, "Can't make dinner. Emergency at work. Rain check." His response came quickly. "No problem, babe. Don't work too hard. Love you." Love you. Right. At 6:50, I walked into Giorgio's, spotting Diego at a corner table. He stood up when he saw me, his easy smile falling away as he got a better look at my face. "Okay, spill it," he said as I sat down. "What's wrong?" I pulled out my tablet and showed him the transaction history. "Look familiar?" His eyes widened as he scrolled. "Holy shit, Joe, is this what I think it is?" "If you think it's proof that my husband's been funneling money to his mistress through my own bank, then yes. That son of a—" "Keep your voice down," I hissed, though the restaurant was nearly empty. "I need your help figuring out what to do next." Diego leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "First thing tomorrow, you call Josue. He's the best divorce lawyer in the city." "Divorce?" The word felt strange in my mouth. "What else are you thinking? Forgiveness?" His tone was incredulous. I shook my head slowly, remembering all the late nights at the office, the business trips, the mysterious texts he'd hide from me. "No, not forgiveness." "Then what?" I met my brother's eyes. I want him to feel what I'm feeling right now. I want him to know what it's like to have everything pulled out from under him. I want— "Revenge," Diego finished. "Is that terrible?" He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "No, it's human, and in this case, it's justified. What do you need from me?" "Help me build a case, something he can't wiggle out of, something that will destroy him as thoroughly as he's destroyed us." Diego's phone lit up with the text. He glanced at it and his face hardened. "Speak of the devil. Maxwell's asking if I want to grab a drink. Says you're working late." I felt a cold smile spread across my face. "Tell him yes. Keep him busy. I need to make some copies of certain documents before he gets home." "Joe," Diego said as I stood up, "be careful. Don't let this consume you." I gathered my things, pausing to look at him. Too late for that. He made his choice. Now it's my turn. Walking out of Giorgio's, I felt something shift inside me. The shock and pain were still there, but something else was taking root, something colder and more calculated. Maxwell thought he was so clever, hiding his affair behind my own bank's walls. He had no idea that those same walls were about to come crashing down around him. My phone buzzed one more time. "Miss you already. Sweet dreams. Beautiful." I deleted the message without responding. Let him think I was buried in work. Soon enough, he'd be buried in something much worse. "You need to see this." I slid my laptop across Rebecca's kitchen counter the next morning. She squinted at the screen, coffee mug frozen halfway to her lips. "Holy fuck," she whispered, setting down her cup. "How long has this been going on?" The transfer started 8 months ago. I pulled up the security footage I'd retrieved from work, but watch this. The grainy video showed Maxwell and Bianca at my bank, laughing as they filled out paperwork. His hand rested on her lower back, intimate and familiar. The timestamp read, March 15th, our wedding anniversary. Rebecca's face flushed with anger. That absolute piece of... It gets better, I cut in, fast-forwarding. Look who helped them set up the account. Is that Trevor from your corporate accounts team? I nodded. My own employee. He must have known who Maxwell was, but he never said a word. Fire his ass. Already done. Called HR this morning about a breach of protocol. He's gone by end of day. Rebecca paced her kitchen, practically vibrating with rage. Okay, what's the plan? Please tell me you have a plan. That's why I'm here. I pulled out a notebook. I need your help mapping this out. Diego's gathering intel on their movements, but I need someone who knows the financial world. And who better than your best friend, the forensic accountant? Rebecca's smile was sharp. Let's destroy him. We spent the next hour plotting. Rebecca's expertise helped identify hidden patterns in Maxwell's spending: hotels, restaurants, jewelry stores. Each discovery felt like another knife in my back. My phone rang. Diego. You're on speaker, I said. Rebecca's here. Good. Listen, I followed them this morning. They're at the Meridian Hotel right now, room 412. Want me to go up there? No, Rebecca and I said simultaneously. We need evidence, not a scene, I explained. Can you get photos of them leaving? Already on it, but that's not why I called. Maxwell's planning another business trip next week. I overheard him on the phone at the gym. 3 days in Miami. I laughed bitterly. Miami, where Bianca's modeling agency just opened a new office. Exactly. Diego's voice hardened. What's our next move? Rebecca leaned forward. Joe, remember that case I worked last year, the embezzlement thing? We should... A key turned in Rebecca's front door. We froze. Becca, you home? Maxwell's voice called out. Shit, I hissed, scrambling to close my laptop. What's he doing here? Rebecca shoved my things into her bag and pushed it under the counter. In here, she called, then whispered to me, play it cool. Maxwell walked in, all perfect smile and expensive cologne. Hey, thought I might find you here, he said, kissing my cheek. You weren't answering your phone. Girls' morning, Rebecca said smoothly. No phones allowed. Ah, sacred rules, he laughed, helping himself to coffee. Listen, babe, about that Miami trip next week. Can't wait, I interrupted, forcing a smile. I already requested the time off. His face fell slightly. Oh, I thought, it's really just a quick business thing. Boring meetings and all that. But I'd love to see Miami, I pressed, watching him squirm. We could extend it into a long weekend. The thing is, he ran a hand through his hair, his tailwind lying. The schedule's pretty packed. I understand. I stood up, gathering my purse. Maybe next time. You're leaving? The relief in his voice was painful. Yoga class, Rebecca covered for me. We're already late. After quick goodbyes, I made it to my car before the tears came. Rebecca slid into the passenger seat, my laptop bag in her hands. I'm going to fucking end him, she said quietly. Did you see his face? I wiped my eyes angrily. He couldn't wait to get rid of me. Good. Rebecca pulled out her phone. Let him think he's winning. Meanwhile, I've got a friend at the Meridian who owes me a favor. Want to see their security footage? I started the car. Call Josue first. I need to know exactly how much evidence we need. Already texted him. He's free at 2. She squeezed my hand. We've got this, Joe. By the time we're done, Maxwell won't know what hit him. As we drove to the lawyer's office, I thought about Maxwell's kiss this morning. So casual, so practiced. How many times had he kissed me right after being with her? How many lies had I swallowed along with his false affection? Rebecca? Yeah? When this is over, when everything comes out, will I be okay? She turned to me, her face fierce with loyalty. You'll be better than okay. You'll be free. I nodded, gripping the steering wheel tighter. The hurt was still there, raw and bleeding, but something stronger was taking its place. Something that felt like power. Maxwell thought he was so clever, juggling his double life. He had no idea I was about to turn his whole world upside down. And the best part? He'd never see it coming. Sunday family dinner had always been sacred in our house. Now, sitting across from Maxwell at my parents' dining table, every bite tasted like ash. Diego sat next to me, radiating tension, while our mother fussed over the roast chicken. "Maxwell, honey, how's work?" Mum asked, passing the potatoes. "You've been traveling so much lately." "Busy season," he replied smoothly. "But it's paying off. We just landed a huge client in Miami." I caught Diego's knuckles whitening around his fork. "Miami?" Dad perked up. "Beautiful this time of year. You should take Joanna with you." Maxwell coughed slightly. "Oh, you know how these business trips are. Meetings all day, working dinners." "Funny," Diego cut in. "I bumped into your colleague Mike yesterday. He didn't mention any new Miami client." The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Maxwell's smile flickered. "Different department," he said quickly. "Very hush-hush at this stage." "Must be," Diego muttered. I kicked him under the table, but he ignored me. "Speaking of work," Maxwell continued, clearly trying to change the subject, "Joanna's been putting in some late hours herself. Barely saw her this week." Mum turned to me concerned. "You're not overworking yourself, are you, sweetie?" "Just busy with quarterly reviews," I lied, avoiding Maxwell's gaze. "Actually, would anyone like more wine?" I escaped to the kitchen, gripping the counter and taking deep breaths. The sound of chairs scraping told me someone had followed. "Need help?" Maxwell's voice made me jump. "I've got it," I said, but he was already reaching past me for the wine bottle, his cologne overwhelming in the small space. "You seem tense lately," he said softly. "Everything okay?" The audacity of his concern made me want to scream. Instead, I forced a smile. "Just stressed about work. Maybe you should take some time off. After my Miami trip, we could—" "Maxwell," Mom called from the dining room. "Phone for you." He squeezed my shoulder before leaving. Seconds later, Diego slipped in. "He's planning something," my brother whispered urgently. I overheard him in the hallway earlier. "He's meeting her tonight after dinner." My hands shook as I poured the wine. "Where?" "The Meridian again. Room 412, same as last time." Diego pulled out his phone, showing me a text thread. My friend at the hotel confirmed the reservation. "Did you get the photos from last time?" "Better," he grinned. "Got video. And guess what else? Found out Bianca's been bragging to her friends about her sugar daddy. She's not as discreet as Maxwell thinks." The wine bottle clinked against the glass as my hand trembled harder. "I can't do this anymore, Diego. Sitting here, playing happy families while he—" "Then don't." Diego gripped my shoulders. "We have enough evidence. Let's end this now." "Not yet." I shook my head. "Josue says we need more financial records, and I want him to feel completely safe before I pull the rug out." "You're stronger than I would be," Diego muttered. "I want to punch his smug face every time he opens his mouth." "Soon," I promised. "Very soon." We returned to the dining room, where Maxwell was just hanging up his phone. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. "Oh yeah, just work." He checked his watch. "Actually, I might need to head in for a bit. Emergency client situation." Mum frowned. "On a Sunday night?" "Nature of the business," he said apologetically. "Joe, don't wait up, okay? This might take a while." I nodded, watching him kiss our mother's cheek goodbye. As soon as the front door closed, Diego pulled out his phone again. "Following him?" I asked quietly. "You know it." He stood up. "Mom, Dad, sorry, but I've got plans too." After they left, I helped clean up, my mind racing. Each dish I washed felt like another moment ticking down to something inevitable. "Joanna," Mom touched my arm. "What's really going on?" I turned to her, seeing the worry in her eyes. For a moment, I wanted to tell her everything, about the money, the affair, my plans for revenge. Instead, I hugged her tightly. I'm okay, Mom. Just tired. My phone buzzed with a text from Diego. He's here, with her. Want me to send pics? I replied, no, save them for later. Another buzz, this time from Maxwell. Meeting running late. Don't wait up. Love you. I stared at the message, remembering all the other Sunday nights he'd missed, all the emergencies and client meetings that had really been rendezvous with Bianca. Each lie now felt like another piece of ammunition in my growing arsenal. Soon, I promised myself. Soon he'd learn that karma doesn't just knock, it kicks down doors. And I was going to be holding the battering ram. The morning light streamed through my office window as Marley laid out the documents on my desk. You sure about this? She asked, tapping the stack of papers. Once we submit these to compliance, there's no going back. I'm sure. I signed the last form with a steady hand. The money laundering angle is solid. Rock solid. The way he structured those transfers. She shook her head. Textbook case of trying to hide the source. Plus, using your bank, that's just stupid. My phone lit up with Joshua's name. Speaking of stupid decisions, Joanna, his voice was clipped, professional. We need to meet. Now. Something's come up. 20 minutes later, I sat in his office, staring at photos spread across his desk. They showed Maxwell and Bianca at various locations. Restaurants, hotels, even one at my parents' country club. Your brother's been busy, Joshua said, but that's not why I called. Look at this one. The photo showed Bianca entering a building I recognized, my bank's corporate headquarters. When was this taken? 3 days ago. She's applying for a job there. My blood ran cold. What? That's not all. He slid over a document. She's using Maxwell as a reference, claims she has extensive experience with corporate banking. I laughed bitterly. Oh, I bet she does. This could work in our favor. Josue leaned forward. If she gets the job. A knock interrupted him. His secretary poked her head in. Ms. Douglas, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent. I stepped into the reception area and froze. Bianca stood there, perfect makeup, designer outfit, looking exactly like her profile picture. We need to talk, she said simply. No, we don't. I turned to leave. It's about the job application. Her voice stopped me. And about Maxwell. You deserve to know the truth. 5 minutes later, we sat in a coffee shop across the street. Bianca stirred her latte, perfectly manicured nails clicking against the spoon. I knew who you were from the start, she said. Maxwell told me you were separated. Convenient lie. I believed him at first. Then I saw your family photos on his phone. Recent ones. She met my eyes. He's been playing both of us. I kept my face neutral. Why are you telling me this? Because he promised to leave you. Promised to help with my career. Her laugh was harsh. Instead, he's been stringing me along while bleeding my savings dry. That made me sit up. What? She pulled out her phone, showing me bank statements. Large transfers going out of her account. To Maxwell. Son of a bitch, I whispered. He said it was for investment opportunities. Special deals through his firm. She wiped away a tear, careful not to smudge her mascara. I'm not the only one. There are others. My phone buzzed. A text from Marley. Compliance approved, ready when you are. Why apply at my bank? I asked Bianca. Honestly? To force his hand, make him choose. She shrugged. Stupid, right? Very. I stood up. Word of advice. Withdraw your application. Things are about to get messy at that bank. Back at the office, Marley was waiting with Rebecca. You'll never believe who I just met, I said. Spill it, Rebecca demanded. As I recounted the conversation, their expressions shifted from shock to anger to something like grim satisfaction. So he's not just a cheater, Marley said slowly. He's running a scam. Rebecca was already typing on her laptop. If what she said about other women is true, find them, I said. All of them. My phone buzzed again. Maxwell. Miss you. Can't wait for Miami next week. About that trip, Marley said, our team found something interesting in his expense reports. She pulled up a document showing multiple airline bookings, all for the same dates, different destinations. He's not going to Miami, Rebecca realized. That's just what he told you. No, I said, reading the details. He's going to Vegas, with her. The pieces were falling into place faster than I'd expected. Maxwell wasn't just having an affair. He was running a complex financial scheme, using both the bank and his mistresses as unwitting accomplices. Joshua needs to see this, Rebecca said, gathering the papers. All of it. I nodded, a cold clarity settling over me. Set up the meeting. It's time. As they left my office, I looked at the photo of Maxwell and me on my desk. Our last anniversary, both of us smiling. I turned it face down. My phone buzzed one final time. Packed my lucky tie for Miami, the blue one you gave me. I typed back, perfect. Everything's going exactly as planned. And for the first time since this started, I wasn't lying. 3 more women have come forward, Rebecca announced, dropping a thick folder on my desk. All with the same story. Investment opportunities, romance, then suddenly their money vanishes. I flipped through the statements, each one more damning than the last. How much total? Close to $500,000. She collapsed into the chair across from me. And that's just what we know about. My office door opened and Marley rushed in. We've got a problem. Bianca's downstairs. She's demanding to see you. What? Why? She's hysterical. Says Maxwell cleaned out their joint account this morning. I grabbed my purse. Where is she? We found Bianca in the bank's lobby, mascara streaking down her face. Several customers were staring. My money, she choked out when she saw me. All of it, gone. I led her to a private conference room, Rebecca and Marley following. Once the door closed, Bianca collapsed into tears. He said it was for our future, she sobbed. A down payment on our new life together. I trusted him. How much? Rebecca asked quietly. 200,000. Bianca wiped her eyes. My entire savings, plus what I borrowed from my parents. I exchanged looks with Rebecca. This changed everything. Show me the transfer details, I said. Bianca pulled up her banking app. The transaction had happened at 9:43 a.m., right when Maxwell was supposedly in a board meeting. There's more, she hiccuped. I'm pregnant. The room went silent. Does he know? Marley asked. Bianca shook her head. I was going to tell him in Vegas next week. We were supposed to. She broke down again. My phone buzzed. Diego. Maxwell just bought a one-way ticket to Buenos Aires, tomorrow morning. The bastard was planning to run. Bianca, I said carefully, we need your help. Why would I help you? She snapped. You're his wife. Because right now I'm your only chance at getting your money back. Her eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I laid out what we knew. The other women, the financial schemes, the fake business trips. With each detail, her face grew paler. Son of a bitch, she whispered. I'm such an idiot. We all were, I said. But now we can stop him. My phone rang. Maxwell. Put it on speaker, Rebecca mouthed. Hey, babe. His voice was cheerful. Just checking about dinner tonight. Giorgio's at 7. I met Bianca's eyes. She nodded slightly. Actually, I said, I need to work late. Rain check. Of course, beautiful. Don't work too hard. He paused. Love you. The call ended. Bianca's hands were shaking. He's taking me to dinner tonight, she said. Same restaurant, 8 o'clock. Marley leaned forward. We can use this. But I was already shaking my head. No, it's too risky. If he suspects anything... He won't, Bianca interrupted. Trust me, I can play my part. One last dinner with the man who stole my future. Her laugh was bitter. I think I can manage that. Rebecca pulled out her laptop. If we time this right, we can freeze his accounts before he boards that plane. You'd do that, Bianca asked. Help me. I'm helping all of us, I said. But first, we need to call Joshua. As Rebecca made the call, Marley touched my arm. You okay with this? Working with her? I watched Bianca staring at her phone, probably at photos of her and Maxwell, just like I'd done countless times. The enemy of my enemy, I said quietly. My phone buzzed again. Maxwell. Packed for Miami, can't wait to close this deal. I showed the message to Bianca. Her face hardened. Bastard told me it was Vegas, she said. Said he was finally leaving you. He's not going to Miami or Vegas, I told her. He's running to Argentina, with everyone's money. She stood up suddenly. I'll wear the red dress tonight. It's his favorite. Bianca, I called as she reached the door. Why did you really come here today? She turned, one hand unconsciously touching her stomach. Because when I found out about the baby, I realized something. This isn't about me or you anymore. It's about justice. After she left, Rebecca looked at me. Can we trust her? I thought about Maxwell's patterns, how he chose strong, successful women and turned their strengths into vulnerabilities. We don't have to trust her, I said. We just have to trust that she wants revenge as much as we do. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Hosul. Everything's ready, just say the word. I typed back 2 words. Do it. The end game was starting, and Maxwell had no idea he was about to have dinner with 2 women he'd betrayed, one carrying his child, the other carrying enough evidence to destroy him completely. His laptop is still connected to our home Wi-Fi, I told Rebecca as we huddled over her computer. Can you get in? Already done. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. God, he's not even using a password manager. Amateur. Email after email populated the screen. Each one revealed another layer of deception. More women, more promises, more money transfers. Look at this one, Rebecca pointed. He's been corresponding with a real estate agent in Buenos Aires for months. My phone buzzed. Bianca. At Giorgio's. He's not here yet. Everything set? I asked Rebecca. She nodded, showing me her tablet where 6 different security camera feeds from Giorgio's displayed. Diego's got eyes on all exits. Joshua's team is standing by. And the money? Can't touch it until morning when the banks open, but it's flagged. The moment he tries to transfer anything significant, we'll know. My phone buzzed again. Maxwell. Working late again? Miss you? I ignored it, focusing on the security feeds. At 8:02, Maxwell walked into Giorgio's, heading straight for the bar. He looked confident, relaxed, a man without a care in the world. There's our boy, Rebecca muttered, looking pretty smug for someone about to lose everything. Bianca appeared on another camera, wearing the red dress she'd mentioned. Maxwell's face lit up when he saw her. Audio's live, Rebecca said, adjusting her headphones. Want to hear? I shook my head. Just tell me if anything important happens. My phone rang. Diego. You seeing this? He asked. Because I've got a clear shot of them from the parking lot, and they look pretty cozy. Stay focused, I reminded him. We need to know the moment he leaves. Rebecca suddenly grabbed my arm. Joe, listen to this. She unplugged her headphones, and Maxwell's voice filled the room. Just need you to sign these papers, for the investment, remember? More paperwork. Bianca's voice was perfectly pitched, curious but trusting. Last batch, I promise. Once this goes through. Rebecca muted it. He's trying to get her to sign transfer documents. Right now. I grabbed my phone, typing quickly. Don't sign anything. On screen, Bianca checked her phone, then smiled at Maxwell. Actually, can we order first? I'm starving. His face flickered with annoyance, but he waved over a waiter. Smart girl, Rebecca murmured. My phone lit up again. Marley. Bank alert set. Any unusual activity will trigger automatic freezes. I watched as Maxwell ordered wine, playing the perfect gentleman. How many times had he done this? How many women had sat across from him, believing they were special? Hold up, Rebecca said suddenly. New email coming in. Holy shit. What? It's from his firm's HR department. They're launching an internal investigation into missing client funds. I felt a cold smile spread across my face. Anonymous tip. Very anonymous, she confirmed, and very detailed. On screen, Maxwell checked his phone. His expression changed instantly, that smooth confidence cracking just slightly. He's seen it, Rebecca narrated. Now he's... Yep, pulling up his banking app. Time to rattle his cage? I asked. Do it. I picked up my phone and typed, "Hey babe, can we talk? Found some strange transactions in our account." The effect was immediate. On screen, Maxwell nearly knocked over his wine glass. "Incoming call," Rebecca warned. My phone lit up with Maxwell's name. I let it ring. "He's getting up," Rebecca reported, making excuses to Bianca, heading to the bathroom. I answered his second call. "Hey." His voice was too bright. "Sorry I missed you earlier. What's up?" "Oh, just some weird bank stuff," I said casually. "Actually, could you stop by the bank tomorrow? They need both of us to verify some transfers." "Tomorrow?" His voice cracked slightly. "I've got that Miami trip, remember?" "Right, Miami." I paused. "Or is it Vegas?" The silence was deafening. "What are you talking about?" He finally managed. "Doesn't matter. Have a good dinner, Maxwell. Give Bianca my best." I hung up. On screen, Maxwell emerged from the bathroom, face pale. He rushed back to the table, grabbing his briefcase. "He's running," Diego's voice came through my phone. "Want me to follow?" "No need." I watched Maxwell hurry toward the exit. "We know where he's going." Rebecca was already typing. "Alert sent to airport security. His passport's been flagged." My phone buzzed one last time. Bianca. "He's gone. Left the papers behind. What now?" I looked at Rebecca, who nodded. "Now," I typed back, "we wait. By this time tomorrow, Maxwell's entire world will collapse. And we'll all have front row seats." On screen, Maxwell's car peeled out of the parking lot. He was probably heading home to pack, not knowing that every account was frozen, every escape route blocked. "Should we head over?" Rebecca asked. I shook my head, watching his car disappear from view. "Let him sweat tonight. Tomorrow's soon enough for the grand finale. After all, revenge, like karma, is best served with perfect timing." The restaurant buzzed with Friday night energy as I sat across from Maxwell at our usual table. He'd been checking his phone every 30 seconds, barely touching his wine. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. "You seem distracted." "Fine," he said quickly. "Just work stuff." "Must be stressful, planning that Miami trip." His eyes darted to mine, then away. "About that, or is it Vegas?" I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos. I get confused. So many trips lately. "Joanna, here's a good one." I turned the screen toward him. "You and Bianca at the Meridian, room 412. Very cozy." The color drained from his face. "I can explain." "Can you explain this too?" I slid a folder across the table. "Bank statements, transfer records, emails to your real estate agent in Buenos Aires." His hand shook as he opened the folder. "How did you—" "I'm a bank manager, Maxwell. Did you really think I wouldn't notice $500,000 moving through my own bank?" He leaned forward, voice low. "Listen, this isn't what it looks like. Save it." I held up my hand. "Bianca told me everything. So did the others." "Others?" "Amanda from accounting, Sarah from your gym, Maria from the country club." I watched each name hit him like a physical blow. They all had the same story. Investment opportunities, romance, missing money. He grabbed his phone, probably trying to check his accounts. I smiled. "Don't bother. Everything's frozen." "You can't do that," he hissed. "I already did. The FBI is very interested in your investment schemes, by the way." The waiter approached. I waved him away. "This is insane," Maxwell said. "I'm your husband." "Not for long." I pulled out another folder. "Divorce papers. And look, I even used your lucky blue pen, the one you left at Bianca's last week." His face contorted. "You vindictive by—" "Careful," I cut him off. "You're being recorded. Actually, you have been for weeks. The Meridian has excellent security cameras. As if on cue, Bianca walked in. Maxwell's eyes widened as she approached our table. Perfect timing, I said. Join us. She sat down, placing her own folder on the table. The investment paperwork you wanted me to sign last night? I had my lawyer look it over. Maxwell started to stand. Diego appeared behind him, hand firm on his shoulder. Sit down, brother-in-law. We're not done. This is harassment, Maxwell sputtered. No, I corrected him. This is karma. Rebecca emerged from another table, laptop open. Should I show him the spreadsheets? The ones tracking every dollar he stole. Maxwell's face was ashen. I can fix this. Give me time. Time? Bianca's laugh was harsh. Like the time you gave me to recover my life savings? Or the time you spent planning your escape to Argentina, I added. Speaking of which, Diego checked his watch. Your flight left 10 minutes ago. Shame you missed it. Maxwell slumped in his chair. What do you want? I opened the divorce papers. Sign these. Then we'll discuss repayment plans with everyone you've scammed. And if I refuse, then I press charges, I said simply. The FBI has everything they need. Your choice. His hand trembled as he took the pen. You've ruined me. No, Maxwell, you did that all by yourself. As he signed, I thought about all the nights I'd spent crying, all the times I doubted myself. Now, watching him crumble, I felt nothing but relief. One more thing, Bianca said as he finished signing. I'm pregnant. The pen clattered to the table. Congratulations, I told him. I'm sure the child support calculations will be interesting. Diego pulled Maxwell up. The FBI agents outside would like a word. As they led him away, Rebecca squeezed my hand. You okay? I watched my soon-to-be ex-husband being escorted out, his perfect life in shambles. Better than okay. Bianca stood to leave, then paused. I'm sorry for everything. Don't be. We were both deceived. After she left, Rebecca closed her laptop. Want to get out of here? I looked around the restaurant, at our special table, at the memories of anniversaries and celebrations, all tainted now by lies. Actually, I said, picking up Maxwell's untouched wine glass, I think I'll finish this first. Seems a shame to waste $100 bottle of wine. To karma, Rebecca raised her glass. To karma, I agreed, and to women who don't stay victims. Through the window, I could see Maxwell talking to federal agents, gesturing frantically. His lucky blue tie was crooked. I took another sip of wine, savoring the moment. Sometimes revenge doesn't taste cold at all. Sometimes it tastes like victory, with notes of justice and a finish of pure satisfaction. The waves crashed against the shore as Rebecca and I walked along the beach, our shoes dangling from our hands. The morning sun warmed my face as I checked my phone, another news alert about Maxwell's case. Stop torturing yourself, Rebecca said, snatching my phone. He pleaded guilty. It's done. I know, it's just... I wiggled my now bare ring finger. Hard to believe it's really over. Over? Girl, your life is just beginning. She grinned. Speaking of which, guess who called me yesterday? Who? Bianca. She had her first ultrasound. It's a girl. I stopped walking. How's she doing? Better. The victim restitution fund came through. She's got her savings back, plus interest. Rebecca kicked at the surf. She asked about you, actually. What did you tell her? That you're too busy being a badass CEO to worry about the past. I smiled, thinking about my recent promotion. The board had been impressed with how I'd handled the fraud detection. Who knew exposing your husband's criminal enterprise could be such a career boost? My phone buzzed in Rebecca's hand. She checked it, then whistled. Diego's text. Maxwell's cellmate is a former investment banker he scammed. Karma keeps on giving. Delete it, I said. I don't need updates anymore. You sure? This is prime revenge material. I'm sure. I took my phone back, dropping it into my beach bag. The best revenge is living well, right? Speaking of living well, Rebecca wiggled her eyebrows. That new district attorney's been asking about you. Stop. What? He's cute, and he helped put Maxwell away. I'm not ready. Fair enough. She linked her arm through mine. But when you are, promise you'll let me vet him. I've gotten pretty good at background checks. We laughed, remembering the night spent digging through Maxwell's digital life. Oh, Rebecca suddenly pulled me toward a beach cafe. Coffee break, I have news. Inside, over steaming lattes, she slid a document across the table. What's this? Remember those other women Maxwell scammed? They want to start a support group, help other fraud victims. They need someone to manage the foundation's finances. I stared at her. You're not serious. Why not? You're literally the perfect person for this. Who better to help fraud victims than someone who took down one of the biggest scammers in the city? Before I could respond, my phone rang. Marley. Turn on the news, she said when I answered. Right now. The cafe's TV was already showing it. Maxwell being led into court for sentencing, head down, wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of his lucky blue tie. Should we watch? Rebecca asked softly. I shook my head. I don't need to see it. You sure? This is your moment of triumph. No, I said, looking at the foundation proposal. This is. My phone buzzed again. A text from Bianca. Starting a single mother's support group. Could use your financial expertise. No pressure. Rebecca read over my shoulder. Look at us, turning lemons into lemonade. More like turning betrayal into purpose. The news showed Maxwell's face one more time before cutting away. I barely recognized him. The confident mask gone, replaced by the reality of his choices. You know what I realized? I said, stirring my coffee. He didn't just steal money. He stole confidence, trust, self-worth. That's what we need to help people rebuild. So you'll do it? Help with the foundation? I picked up the proposal. On one condition. Name it. We make it bigger than Maxwell. Bigger than revenge. Something that actually changes lives. Rebecca's smile was brilliant. Now that sounds like the Joanna I know. My phone lit up with another message. From Mom. Proud of you, sweetheart. Your father says the beach house is yours whenever you need it. I looked out at the ocean, remembering all the times I'd felt like I was drowning in Maxwell's lies. Now the water looked different. Cleansing, full of possibility. Ready to head back? Rebecca asked. Not yet. I pulled out a pen, starting to make notes on the proposal. I've got some ideas to write down first. She settled back with her coffee, grinning. That's my girl. The waves kept rolling in, steady and strong. Like karma, like justice, like women supporting women. Maxwell had tried to build his life on lies, but we'd built something better on the truth. And that was the real victory. Not the conviction, not the restitution, but this. Turning pain into purpose, betrayal into brotherhood, and revenge into redemption. I took another sip of coffee, already planning the foundation's first meeting. Sometimes the best endings aren't endings at all. They're beginnings in disguise.
The cardboard box felt heavier than it should have as I carried it down the steps of what used to be my office. Security watched from the lobby, making sure I didn't steal anything on my way out. Funny, considering I'd brought most of the items on my desk from home. My name is Rebecca, and this wasn't how I'd planned to start my 34th year. I'm so sorry, Becca. Kira waited by her car, arms open. I dropped the box and fell into her embrace, finally letting the tears flow. We'll figure this out, I promise. The layoff hadn't been a complete surprise. The company had been struggling for months. What I hadn't expected was how quickly everything else would unravel. 2 weeks later, I sat cross-legged on my apartment floor, staring at an eviction notice. You can stay with me, Kira offered, but I knew her tiny studio barely fit her own things. I scrolled through my contacts, finger hovering over Blake's name. My successful older brother, living in his mansion across town. We hadn't spoken in months, but surely he'd help family. The phone rang 3 times before he answered. Rebecca? This is unexpected. Blake, I need help. My voice cracked. I lost my job, and now my apartment. Let me stop you right there. His tone shifted from surprised to cold. I'm not your personal ATM. Maybe if you'd been more responsible with your money. I was responsible. The company went under and my savings, not my problem. Have you tried asking Mum and Dad? I gripped the phone tighter. They're barely making ends meet with Dad's medical bills, you know that. Then I suggest you figure something out. I have a meeting in 5 minutes. Blake, please, I'm not asking for a handout. Just a loan until... The line went dead. I stared at my phone, remembering the brother who used to sneak into my room during thunderstorms to make sure I wasn't scared. The same brother who'd promised to always look out for me after Dad's first heart attack. He hung up on me, I told Kira, who'd witnessed the whole conversation. My own brother hung up on me. She wrapped an arm around my shoulders. What a jackass! You know what? This calls for wine. 2 hours and 1 bottle later, I scrolled through social media, torturing myself with photos of Blake's perfect life. His engagement announcement to Oakley, their vacation in the Maldives, his new Tesla. Look at this. I thrust my phone at Kira. He donated $50,000 to some charity gala last month. $50,000, but he can't help his sister. Stop looking at that stuff. It'll only make you feel worse. But I couldn't stop. Each photo felt like a fresh betrayal. You know what the worst part is? He knows what it's like to struggle. Remember when he lost everything in that bad investment? Dad and I emptied our savings to help him start over. And now he's conveniently forgotten that part, Kira said, pouring more wine. I stood up suddenly, swaying slightly. I'm going to prove him wrong. I'll rebuild everything without his help. And then, I paused, the weight of my next words heavy on my tongue. And then, when he needs something from me, because everyone eventually needs something, I'll remember this moment. Becca, no, I mean it. He thinks I'm irresponsible. Watch me become everything he claims I'm not. And more. Kira studied me carefully. Just don't let revenge consume you, okay? But it was too late. As I packed my belongings into storage the next day, each box represented another brick in the wall I was building between my old life and my new one. Between the sister who would have done anything for her brother and the woman who would never forget his betrayal. I found a shelter for women in crisis, ironic considering I used to donate to places like this. The social worker, a kind-faced woman named Janet, helped me secure a bed. It's temporary, she assured me, just until you get back on your feet. That night, lying on the narrow bed, I made a promise to myself. Someday, I'd create a place like this, but better. A foundation to help women who, like me, had nowhere else to turn. And when that day came, I'd make sure Blake saw exactly what his sister accomplished without him. I pulled out my phone one last time, typing a final message to my brother. I won't forget this, and someday, neither will you. Then I blocked his number, turned off my phone and closed my eyes, letting the sounds of the shelter, women's voices, children's laughter, distant sirens, lull me into an uneasy sleep. Tomorrow would be day 1 of my new life, and I was ready to rise. 3 years can change everything. I stared at my reflection in the gleaming windows of my new office building, hardly recognizing the woman who stared back. Gone were the desperate eyes and slumped shoulders. In their place stood someone stronger, sharper, ready to take on the world. Ms. Rebecca? My assistant Sarah poked her head around the door. Mr. Jarvis is here for your meeting. Jarvis stood as I entered the conference room, his familiar grin lighting up his face. There's my favorite success story. Please, I laughed, you say that to all your mentees. Only the ones who go from shelter resident to business owner in 3 years. He spread out some papers on the table. Speaking of which, the paperwork for your foundation is almost ready. The Women's Crisis Foundation. My dream, slowly becoming reality. After leaving the shelter, I'd thrown myself into work, starting with freelance consulting. One client led to another, and soon I had my own successful business consulting firm. But that was just the means to an end. I still can't believe you're giving up your consulting business for this, Kira said later that evening over dinner. You built it from nothing. The consulting was never the end goal. I took a sip of wine, much better quality than what we'd drunk that night on my apartment floor. Besides, I'm not giving it up entirely. The revenue will help fund the foundation. Have you told your family yet? I shook my head. Mom calls sometimes, but I haven't mentioned it. And Blake? I trailed off, remembering my last glimpse of him at Dad's birthday last year. He'd barely acknowledged my presence. Speaking of family, Kira hesitated. I saw Oakley at the gym yesterday. She asked about you. Did she mention the wedding? I kept my voice neutral, though the invitation's absence still stung. Actually, she said it's been postponed. Something about Blake being sick. My phone buzzed before I could respond. Mum's number flashed on the screen. Rebecca! Her voice sounded strange, strained. We need to talk. It's about Blake. Mom, I'm actually in the middle of... He's sick, Rebecca, really sick. His liver is failing. The world seemed to tilt sideways. What? The doctors say he needs a transplant. We've all been tested, but none of us are matches. She paused, and I knew what was coming. We need you to get tested. The wine turned sour in my mouth. You want me to get tested? After everything? He's your brother, Rebecca. Whatever happened between you? Whatever happened? I laughed, but there was no humour in it. He left me homeless, Mom. When I needed him most, he turned his back on me. I know, sweetheart, but no buts. I have to go. I hung up, hands shaking. Kira reached across the table. Becca, don't. I stood up abruptly. I need some air. The night air was cool against my face as I walked, memories flooding back unbidden. Blake teaching me to ride a bike. Blake at my college graduation. Blake turning me away when I needed him most. My phone buzzed again. Jarvis this time. I just got off the phone with another potential donor, he said when I answered. They're interested in the foundation, but they want to see more concrete plans. An idea began forming in my mind. What if we had a major donor already lined up? Someone with influence in the community? That would certainly help. You have someone in mind? I thought of Blake, of his perfectly curated social media presence, his connections, his wealth. Maybe. I need to make some calls. Back home, I pulled up Blake's contact information, still blocked after all these years. My finger hovered over the unblock button. You're really going to do this? Kira had followed me home, concern etched on her face. Why not? He wants something from me, I want something from him. Seems fair. This isn't like you, Becca. The old me died the night Blake hung up on me. I pressed unblock. It's time he learned actions have consequences. I typed out a message. Mom called. I'll get tested on one condition. We need to talk about my foundation. The response came almost immediately. What foundation? I smiled, remembering my promise in the shelter 3 years ago. Meet me tomorrow at the Grove Cafe, 10 a.m. I'll explain everything. After sending the address, I turned to Kira. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm done being the family doormat. Just remember, she said softly, revenge might feel good, but it won't heal what's broken. Maybe not, but as I prepared for bed that night, I couldn't help thinking that sometimes things need to break completely before they can be rebuilt into something stronger. The Grove Cafe buzzed with morning energy, but I barely noticed the crowd. My attention fixed on Blake the moment he walked in. He looked different, thinner, paler, with a slight yellow tinge to his skin. But his expensive suit was still perfectly pressed, his watch still worth more than my first car. Rebecca. He slid into the seat across from me, Oakley hovering protectively at his side. You look terrible, I said, not bothering to soften the blow. Always direct, aren't you? He attempted a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mom says you'll get tested. I have conditions. Oakley sat down beside him, her hand on his arm. Conditions? This is your brother's life we're talking about. Exactly. I pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. This is my proposal for the Women's Crisis Foundation. I need funding, public support, and your connections. Blake leafed through the papers, his expression unreadable. You want me to fund your charity in exchange for potentially saving my life? It's not just a charity, It's a comprehensive support system for women in crisis. Housing, job training, childcare, legal aid. Everything I needed when you turned me away. He flinched at that. That was different. How? I leaned forward. How was it different, Blake? You're really going to hold that over me now? When I'm sick? I'm offering you a chance to make it right. I tapped the folder. 5 million in seed funding, plus your public support as a board member. In return, I'll get tested. If I'm a match, I'll donate. Oakley's grip on Blake's arm tightened. This is extortion. This is business. I met her gaze steadily. Something Blake understands very well. I need time to think about this, Blake said, closing the folder. You have 24 hours. After that, I'm moving forward with other investors. He stood up shakily, Oakley supporting him. You've changed, Rebecca. You're right, I have. I watched them leave, my hands trembling under the table despite my calm exterior. My phone rang almost immediately. Mom. Blake just called, she said without preamble. How could you do this to him? Do what? Offer him a chance to help others while helping himself? He's dying, Rebecca. Your own brother is dying and you're trying to blackmail him. That's not, I started, but she cut me off. Your father and I raised you better than this. What happened to the sweet girl who used to bring home injured birds? She grew up, Mom. She learned that family loyalty only goes one way in this family. Please, her voice cracked, please don't do this, just get tested. We can talk about your foundation later. No, I'm done putting everyone else first. This is my condition. Take it or leave it. The line went quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. Finally, she spoke again, her voice heavy with disappointment. I don't recognize you anymore. Maybe you never really knew me at all. Back at my office, Jarvis was waiting. How did it go? About as well as expected. I sank into my chair. They think I'm heartless. Are you sure about this approach? There are other ways to fund the foundation. It's not just about the money. I pulled up Blake's social media profile, still full of perfectly curated photos, though none recent. It's about making him understand. Making them all understand. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. Can we talk? Just us? I hesitated before responding. Dinner tonight? My place. His reply came quickly. 7 p.m. I'll bring pizza like old times. That evening, Dad sat at my kitchen counter, looking older than I remembered. Nice place you've got here. I did it all without help, I said pointedly. I know. He took a bite of pizza. That's part of why I'm proud of you. I nearly dropped my slice. You're what? Proud. You pulled yourself up when life knocked you down. But Rebecca, he set down his pizza. Don't let that strength turn into cruelty. It's not cruelty to want something in return. No, it's not. He wiped his hands slowly. But is this really about the foundation, or is it about making Blake suffer? I stared at the pizza, suddenly not hungry. Can't it be both? Oh, sweetheart. He reached across the counter and took my hand. The thing about revenge is it has a way of poisoning everything, even the good things we do. My phone lit up with a text from Blake. Let's meet tomorrow. All of us. We need to discuss your terms. Dad squeezed my hand. Whatever you decide, remember, you can't heal old wounds by creating new ones. But as I typed my response agreeing to the meeting, I wondered if some wounds were beyond healing anyway. The family estate hadn't changed in 3 years. Same manicured lawn, same pretentious fountain, same overwhelming sense of not belonging. I parked my car next to Blake's Tesla and took a deep breath. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Everyone's in the living room. The tension hit me like a wall as I entered. Blake and Oakley sat together on the leather sofa, Dad occupied his usual armchair, and Mom hovered nervously between them all. Well, Blake broke the silence, you have our attention. I pulled out my presentation folder. The foundation needs... No, Mom interrupted. Before we discuss any of that, we need to talk about what happened 3 years ago. Mom, please, Blake started. No, she's right. I set down the folder. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how I called you crying, begging for help. And you hung up on me. I was protecting my assets, Blake defended. You weren't exactly making good choices. I lost my job in a company-wide layoff. How was that my choice? You should have had more savings, he shot back. Like you did? I laughed bitterly. Or did you forget about the time Dad and I bailed you out after your failed investment? Dad shifted in his chair. That was different. Blake had a solid plan. And I didn't? I pulled out my phone, opening photos from 3 years ago. Here's my bank statements showing regular savings. Here's my perfect credit score before the layoff. Here's the severance package I stretched as far as I could. Oakley leaned forward, actually looking at the evidence. Blake, did you know about this? It doesn't matter now, he muttered. It matters to me, she said quietly. Mom wrung her hands. We all make mistakes. Can't we just move forward? That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I opened my folder again. The foundation will help women who find themselves in similar situations, women who have nowhere else to turn. And you need $5 million for this? Blake asked. I need more than that, but $5 million will get us started. The rest I can raise once we have your name and connections behind it. This is emotional manipulation, Mom protested. No, Oakley surprised everyone by speaking up. This is brilliant business strategy. She's leveraging her position just like you taught her, Blake. Blake's face flushed. That's not what? Not fair. I stood up. Let me tell you about fair. Fair is sleeping in a shelter because your millionaire brother wouldn't loan you 2 months' rent. Fair is watching that same brother post about his charitable donations while you're eating at soup kitchens. You never told us it was that bad, Dad said softly. Would it have mattered? You all took his side. Always have. That's not true, Mom protested. Really? Remember my 10th birthday? Blake broke my bike, but you bought him a new video game to make him feel better about being punished. We were children, Blake scoffed. Fine. How about my college graduation? You showed up 3 hours late because Blake had a golf game, or last Christmas when... Enough. Blake stood up, swaying slightly. You want to punish me? Fine, but using my illness as leverage is cruel. Crueler than leaving your sister homeless? The room fell silent. Oakley stood up, placing a hand on Blake's arm. She has a point, honey, and the foundation. It's actually a good cause. You're taking her side. I'm trying to see all sides. She turned to me. If Blake agrees to your terms, how soon can you get tested? I'll make the appointment tomorrow. Mom started crying softly. Dad got up and put an arm around her. I need to think, Blake said. This is too much. You have until tomorrow, I reminded him. After that, I'm moving forward with or without you. As I turned to leave, Dad followed me to the door. Rebecca, wait. I paused on the porch. That day, with the bike, he said, I never knew you remembered that, or that it hurt you so much. I remember everything, Dad. Every time Blake came first. Every time my feelings didn't matter. He looked older suddenly, tired. We thought we were protecting him because he was more sensitive. We never realized we were hurting you in the process. Well, now you know. I stepped off the porch. And now you all have a choice to make. And if he doesn't agree, I turned back one last time. Then he'll finally understand how it feels to need something desperately and have family turn their back on you. As I drove away, my phone buzzed with a text from Oakley. Give him time. He's starting to understand. Maybe she was right, but understanding wasn't enough anymore. I needed action, commitment, and most of all, I needed them all to finally see me, really see me, for who I'd become. The hospital waiting room buzzed with nervous energy as I waited for my blood test results. Kira sat beside me, scrolling through social media. Blake's trending locally, she said, showing me her phone. Someone leaked about his condition. I skimmed the comments, mostly sympathy and well wishes from the business community. No mention of his sister's ultimatum. Yet. Rebecca, a nurse called my name. Dr. Marshall will see you now. The doctor's office was cramped but cozy. She smiled as she pulled up my results. Well, I have news. I'm a match, I said, reading her expression. A very good one, actually. Your blood type and tissue markers are highly compatible. My phone buzzed. Blake calling. I declined it. I'll need time to think about proceeding, I told Dr. Marshall. Of course, but please understand, your brother's condition is deteriorating rapidly. Time is a factor. Outside the office, I found not just Kira waiting, but Mom and Oakley too. Well, Mom stepped forward. I'm a match. She burst into tears, reaching for me, but I stepped back. Don't celebrate yet. Blake hasn't agreed to my terms. He wants to meet, Oakley said. At his office. Now. Of course he does. His territory, his terms. Becca, Kira touched my arm. Maybe it's time to... I'll go, I cut her off. But I'm not backing down. Blake's office occupied the entire top floor of his building. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, including, I noticed, the shelter where I'd stayed. He sat behind his massive desk, looking worse than yesterday. Oakley stood by the window while Mom paced nervously. You're a match, he said as I entered. Yes. And you're still insisting on your conditions? I placed a new folder on his desk. Updated proposal. 5 million seed funding, public board membership, and your corporate connections. You're really going to watch me die if I say no. Are you really going to let yourself die out of pride? Mom made a distressed sound. Oakley turned from the window. Blake, please. He opened the folder, scanning the contents. Your foundation. How many women would it help? Hundreds, maybe thousands eventually. Housing, job training, childcare, legal support, everything they need to rebuild their lives. Like you did? Yes. But not everyone is as lucky as I was. Not everyone finds people like Jarvis to mentor them. He was quiet for a long moment. What if I counter-offer? 3 million advisory board position only. No deal. Damn it, Rebecca. He slammed his hand on the desk. This is my life we're talking about. And these are women's lives we're talking about. Women who have nothing, no one, nowhere to turn. Blake, Oakley interrupted softly, look out the window. He turned his chair slowly. From his view, the shelter was clearly visible. That's where I slept, I said quietly, for 3 months, while you posted photos of your vacation homes and charity galas. I didn't know, because you didn't want to know. You didn't want to think about your little sister sleeping in a shelter, using food banks, working 3 jobs to save enough for a security deposit. Mom had stopped pacing. 3 jobs. Waitressing mornings, retail afternoons, office cleaning at night, while applying for every job I could find. Blake's hands trembled as he turned back to the folder. 5 million is a lot of money. You spent more on your last yacht. Oakley moved to his side, placing a hand on his shoulder. Think about it, Blake. Really think about what this could mean, not just for Rebecca, but for your legacy. My legacy, he laughed weakly. My legacy might be dying because I was too proud to help my sister. It doesn't have to be. I pulled out the final document, the agreement. It could be helping thousands of women rebuild their lives. It could be turning past mistakes into future hope. The room fell silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. Blake picked up his pen, then set it down again. I need to speak to Rebecca alone, he said finally. Mom started to protest, but Oakley gently led her out. The door clicked shut behind them. Before I sign this, Blake said, I need to know something. If I hadn't gotten sick, would you have ever forgiven me? I looked out at the shelter, remembering those long, dark nights. I don't know, but I do know this. Sometimes it takes breaking something completely to build it back stronger. He picked up the pen again. Is that what we're doing here? Breaking everything to rebuild it? That depends on what you do next. The pen hovered over the agreement. Outside, storm clouds gathered, casting shadows across the city. The same view, but everything was about to change. The pen scratched against paper as Blake signed the agreement. Each stroke seemed to echo in the quiet office. There, he said, pushing it across the desk. You win. This isn't about winning, isn't it? He leaned back, exhaustion evident in every movement. You've got everything you wanted. The money, the support, your revenge. Is that what you think this is? Just revenge? What else should I think? His voice cracked. You're my little sister, Rebecca. The same sister who used to leave notes in my lunchbox when I had big tests. Who defended me when those kids in high school spread rumors about me. When did we become this? I sat down across from him. You really want to know. It wasn't when you refused to help me. It was the way you did it. Like I was nothing. Like all those years of me being there for you meant nothing. I was scared, he whispered. What? I was scared, okay? He ran a shaking hand through his hair. That investment disaster, it nearly broke me. Not just financially, but mentally. After that, I promised myself I'd never risk my security for anyone. I wasn't asking you to risk everything. I needed 2 months' rent. I know that now. He picked up the foundation proposal again. Reading this, seeing everything you've built, I was wrong about you. About everything. Thunder rumbled outside. The storm was getting closer. Remember when we were kids? He asked. During storms, you'd come to my room because you were scared of thunder. And you'd build a pillow fort and tell me stories until I fell asleep. What happened to those kids, Rebecca? They grew up. Life happened. I stood and walked to the window. But maybe it's not too late to build something new. Like this foundation. Like everything. I turned back to him. The foundation isn't just about helping women in crisis. It's about breaking cycles, changing stories. His phone buzzed, probably Oakley checking in. He ignored it. I have conditions too, he said suddenly. I tensed. The agreement is signed. Not about that. About us. He struggled to his feet. If we're doing this, the transplant, the foundation, all of it, I want us to try fixing things. Really fixing them. No more silence, no more pretending the past didn't happen. That's not what I expected. Life's funny that way. He smiled weakly. Nothing like organ failure to give you perspective. A knock at the door interrupted us. Mom poked her head in. Everything okay in here? Show her. Blake nodded at the agreement. I handed Mom the signed papers. Her eyes widened as she read. Oh, Blake, don't cry, Mom, he said. This is a good thing. For everyone. Does this mean? She looked at me hopefully. I'll call Dr. Marshall today, I said. We can schedule the surgery as soon as possible. Mum pulled us both into a hug. For a moment, I was that little girl again, safe in her family's arms. Then Blake swayed slightly, reminding us all of the reality of our situation. You should rest, I told him. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. The foundation? That too. But I meant what you said about fixing things. It won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is. He picked up the proposal one more time. You know, this is really impressive. The comprehensive support system, the long-term planning. You've thought of everything. I had good teachers. Living in that shelter showed me exactly what women need to succeed. He nodded slowly. I want to hear about it. All of it. Even the hard parts. Especially the hard parts. Are you sure? It's not a pretty story. I'm sure. Maybe. He hesitated. Maybe understanding where you've been will help me be a better brother going forward. Mum wiped her eyes. My children finally acting like family again. We're not there yet, Mom, I cautioned. This is just the beginning. But it is a beginning, Blake said. That's more than we had yesterday. As if on cue, the storm broke outside. Rain pelted against the windows, but this time neither of us needed a pillow fort to feel safe. I should go, I said. There's a lot to organize. Rebecca? Blake called as I reached the door. Thank you. Not just for the transplant, but for showing me a better way to use my resources. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Sometimes the hardest battles end not with a bang, but with a quiet moment of understanding. Outside, the rain had already begun to wash the city clean. The press conference room buzzed with anticipation. Reporters filled every seat, cameras flashing as Blake approached the podium. Despite his illness, he stood straight, his voice clear and strong. 3 years ago, I made a terrible mistake, he began. My sister needed help, and I turned her away. Today, she's not only offering to save my life through a liver donation, but has shown me a better way to use my privilege and resources. I watched from the side, Kira squeezing my hand as Blake continued. That's why I'm proud to announce the launch of the Women's Crisis Foundation with an initial investment of $5 million. My sister Rebecca will serve as executive director, while I'll be joining the board to ensure this foundation becomes a lasting legacy. Questions erupted from the crowd. Mr. Blake, why this cause specifically? Because, he looked directly at me, sometimes we need to experience loss to understand what others have lost. My sister's journey from homelessness to success opened my eyes to the challenges women face in crisis situations. Another reporter stood. Rebecca, will this personal experience influence how the foundation operates? I stepped up to the podium, my heart racing. Absolutely. Every woman who comes through our doors will be treated with dignity and respect. We're not just offering handouts, we're providing tools for rebuilding lives. And the liver donation? Someone called out, is this connected? Blake touched my arm gently. The foundation and the transplant are separate issues. My sister's generosity in both matters has taught me valuable lessons about family and responsibility. After the conference, Jarvis met us in the green room. The response is overwhelming. Donations are already coming in. Really? I grabbed his tablet, scrolling through the numbers. This is incredible. People love a redemption story, Oakley said, helping Blake to a chair. Especially one that helps others. Mom and Dad arrived with coffee for everyone. We watched from home, Mom beamed. You both were wonderful. The surgery's scheduled for next week, Dad reminded us. Are you both ready? Blake and I exchanged looks. The past month of preparations had been intense. Medical tests, legal paperwork, and long conversations that often stretched into the night. We'd cried, argued, and slowly begun rebuilding what was broken. As ready as we'll ever be, I answered. Before that, Blake said, I have something to show you. He nodded to Oakley, who pulled out her laptop. What's this? I asked as she turned it toward me. The shelter, Blake said softly. I bought the building. You what? It'll be the foundation's first renovation project. State-of-the-art facilities, expanded capacity, everything you envisioned. I stared at the plans on screen, tears threatening. Blake. That's not all, Oakley added. Show her the rest. He pulled out a folder, similar to the one I'd presented with my demands weeks ago. Full funding for 5 years, not just the seed money. And I've reached out to my business network. We've got commitments for job placement programs, childcare facilities, legal aid. This is too much, I whispered. No, he took my hand. This is exactly enough. This is what family should have been doing all along. Kira cleared her throat. Don't forget the announcement. Right, Oakley smiled. We're postponing the wedding until after the surgery. And, Rebecca, I'd like you to be my maid of honor. The room spun slightly. Are you sure? Very sure. This family's been broken long enough. A knock at the door interrupted us. Dr. Marshall with final pre-surgery instructions. As she talked, I watched my family. Mom and Dad holding hands, Oakley supporting Blake, Kira and Jarvis taking notes about foundation details. One more thing, Blake said after the doctor left. I've been thinking about what you said about breaking cycles. And? The foundation's nice, but it's not enough. I want to start a mentorship program too for siblings, teaching them to support each other, break toxic patterns, like we're learning to do. Exactly like that, Dad cleared his throat. I think what you two are doing, it's bigger than just you now. It's going to help a lot of people. That's the point, I said, taking something broken and making it into something beautiful. My phone buzzed, a message from Janet, the social worker from my shelter days. Saw the press conference. So proud of you. Your story will give hope to so many women. Blake read the message over my shoulder. She's right, you know. This isn't just about us anymore. It never was, I replied. It was always about breaking the cycle, about turning pain into purpose, Outside, we could hear reporters still gathered, eager for more details about the foundation, the surgery, our story. But in that moment, surrounded by family, both blood and chosen, I realized something profound. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating our enemies, but from transforming them into allies. The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee and fresh paint as I unlocked the doors of our first renovated shelter. Behind me, a small crowd gathered, staff members, volunteers, and, most importantly, the women who would call this place their temporary home. "Ready?" Kira asked, clipboard in hand. "Almost?" I straightened the plaque beside the door. The Phoenix Center, a women's crisis foundation project. Blake appeared at my side, looking healthier than he had in months. The transplant surgery had been successful, and his recovery was progressing well. Nice touch with the name. Well, we all know something about rising from ashes, don't we? The ribbon-cutting ceremony was small but meaningful. As I gave the tour, I couldn't help but remember my first night in the old shelter. The fear, the uncertainty, the shame. "And this," I said, opening a door, "is our career center. Each resident gets personalized job training, interview coaching, and professional attire." A young woman raised her hand. "Is it true you stayed in the old shelter?" I did. "Right where the computer lab is now." I smiled at her. "What's your name?" "Maria. I lost everything in my divorce. My ex-husband's lawyer took everything. That's why we have legal aid on site now," Blake stepped forward, "plus emergency funds for cases exactly like yours." "The whole point," I added, "is that no one should have to choose between staying in a bad situation or facing homelessness." After the tour, I found Mom arranging donated supplies in the childcare center. "This is amazing, Rebecca. Though I still feel guilty we didn't—" "Mom, we've talked about this. We can't change the past, but we can learn from it." "Your brother certainly has." She nodded toward where Blake was showing Oakley the mentorship program office. "He's different now, you both are." "The surgery changed us," I agreed. "But not just physically." Dad appeared with boxes of books for the library. "Remember when you used to read to Blake during storms? Now look at you two, helping others weather their own storms." The day flew by as we settled in our first group of residents. Each woman had a story, each one different but connected by the same thread of needing a second chance. As evening approached, I found Blake in the courtyard, sitting on a bench beneath the newly planted trees. "Penny for your thoughts?" I sat beside him. "Just thinking about that night I hung up on you." He touched his side where the surgery scar was still healing. How different things might have been if I'd made another choice. "We can't change that night, but look what we built because of it." "You built this," he corrected. "I just finally got out of your way." "No," I shook my head. "We built this. Your connections, your business expertise. We needed both our strengths to make it work." Oakley joined us, wedding planning folder in hand. The caterer called. "They want to know if we're still doing the donation thing instead of favors?" "Absolutely," Blake said. "Every guest's place setting will have a card showing a donation made in their name to the foundation." Speaking of donations, I pulled out my phone, showing them the latest figures. We've already helped 20 women find jobs, 15 secure housing, and 10 start their own businesses. "Plus, the shelter's at full capacity," Oakley added, "with a waiting list." "Then we'll build more," Blake said simply. "Whatever it takes." As if on cue, thunder rumbled in the distance. A young girl, one of our residents' daughters, jumped at the sound. "Hey," I called to her. "Want to know a secret about storms?" She nodded, moving closer. "They're scary, but they make things grow. And sometimes, the most beautiful flowers come up after the hardest rain." "Like the phoenix?" she asked, pointing to our logo. "Exactly like that." Later, as we locked up for the night, I paused in the entrance hall. The space that had once represented my lowest point now stood as a symbol of hope and renewal. "You coming?" Blake held the door. "Mom's making dinner for everyone." "Just taking it all in," I joined him. "You know, when I first demanded your help with the foundation, I thought it was about revenge. And now? Now I know it was about healing, all of us. The storm finally broke as we drove home, but this time the thunder didn't sound threatening. It sounded like applause from the universe, celebrating not just what we'd built, but what we'd rebuilt. Our family, our purpose, our understanding of what it means to truly help others. Sometimes the best endings don't erase the past. They transform it into something powerful enough to change the future. The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as my mother's words cut through the air like daggers. Well, at least some of my children understand the importance of family values. She raised her glass toward my brother Lionel and his wife Delaney, their matching wedding bands glinting under the chandelier. I'm Vanessa, and at 30 years old, I've become the family's cautionary tale, the unmarried daughter who dared to prioritize her dreams over society's expectations. Did you hear about Sarah's daughter? My sister-in-law Delaney's voice carried across the dining room, deliberately loud enough for me to hear. Already engaged, and she's only 25. Some women just understand their priorities better than others. I took another sip of champagne, forcing a smile as my younger sister Riley caught my eye from across the table. She gave me a subtle, sympathetic look before quickly averting her gaze. Even she, my closest ally, couldn't openly support me without risking our mother's disapproval. Vanessa, dear, my father Harold cleared his throat, have you given any more thought to joining the family business? There's always room for you in accounting. Actually, Dad, I've been working on something of my own, I said, straightening my spine. I'm launching a wellness company focused on women's empowerment. Oh, not this again, my mother Andrea interrupted, pressing her fingers to her temples. Honestly, Vanessa, when will you grow up? Look at your brother. He's running a successful investment firm, has a beautiful wife, a house in the suburbs. And I'm happy for him, I replied, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. But that's not my path. Lionel smirked from his end of the table. Come on, sis. These little passion projects of yours are cute, but it's time to face reality. You're not getting any younger. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to me, waiting for my reaction. I could feel the weight of their judgment, their disappointment, their certainty that I was making a mistake. But something inside me had finally snapped. You know what? I stood up, placing my napkin on the table. I'm done apologizing for choosing my own path. I'm done trying to fit into your narrow definition of success. Vanessa, sit down, my mother hissed. You're making a scene. No, Mother, I'm making a choice. I grabbed my purse from the back of my chair, and my choice is to leave this toxic environment and build something meaningful on my own terms. You'll fail, Delaney said, her words dripping with false concern. And when you do, don't come crying to us. I laughed, surprising even myself with how hollow it sounded. Watch me succeed, and when I do, remember this moment. As I walked toward the door, Riley jumped up. Vanessa, wait. Let her go, our mother snapped. She needs to learn the hard way. I paused at the doorway, turning back one last time. You know what's funny? You're all so focused on status and appearances that you can't see what really matters. But I promise you, one day you'll understand exactly what I mean. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and opened my business plan document, the one I'd been working on in secret for months. The screen illuminated my face as I sat in my car, scrolling through pages of market research, financial projections, and marketing strategies. They thought I was just dreaming, but they had no idea how prepared I was. Every dismissive comment, every condescending smile had only fueled my determination. My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. I'm sorry about tonight. Are you okay? I typed back, I'm better than okay. I'm free. Starting the engine, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back at me wasn't the failure they saw. She was a fighter, an entrepreneur, a force to be reckoned with. And someday they would all see it too. As I pulled away from my parents' mansion, I made a promise to myself. I would build something so successful, so impactful, that they couldn't ignore it. And when the time came, because it would come, They would have to acknowledge that their failure of a daughter had become something they never expected. Little did I know then that karma had a way of making things interesting, and my moment would come sooner than any of us could have anticipated. 18 months after walking out of that dinner party, I stood in front of 50 women at my first wellness retreat, my heart pounding, but my voice steady. "Welcome to empowered living," I said, scanning the eager faces before me. "This weekend isn't just about self-care, it's about reclaiming your power." The journey here hadn't been easy. My small apartment had become command central, with my dining table doubling as both office and occasional bed when late nights bled into early mornings. But every sacrifice was worth it. "Vanessa," my assistant Maya burst through the door of my office waving a tablet. "Forbes wants to feature us in their 30 under 30s section. They're impressed by our growth numbers." I nearly dropped my coffee. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. They specifically mentioned how we've helped over 1,000 women start their own businesses through our mentorship program." The irony wasn't lost on me. A flashback hit me like a wave, my father's voice echoing in his study the day I'd asked him to invest in my company. "This is ridiculous, Vanessa," he'd said, not even looking up from his newspaper. "Women's empowerment? That's not a real business model. Come back when you have a serious proposition." Maya's voice pulled me back to the present. Also, Sierra called again. I tensed. Sierra, my former friend who'd launched a competing wellness brand 6 months after seeing my success, had been trying to reach me for weeks. What did she want? "She's suggesting a partnership. Says it would be mutually beneficial." Maya made air quotes with her fingers. "The same Sierra who told everyone I stole her business idea?" I shook my head. "Not happening." My phone buzzed, Riley's face lighting up the screen. I hadn't spoken to her in months, not since she'd defended our mother's latest criticism of my life choices. "Hey, sis," I answered, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Van, I just saw the article about your company in Business Weekly," she said, her voice excited. "Why didn't you tell me you're expanding to 3 new cities?" Would anyone in the family have actually cared? Silence stretched between us before she spoke again. "Mum saw it too. She kept the magazine." I swallowed hard, pushing down the hope that threatened to rise. Let me guess, she's still waiting for me to fail? No, I think she's starting to realize she was wrong. Even Lionel mentioned your success at dinner last week. "Speaking of Lionel," I said, changing the subject, "how's his investment firm doing? Still telling everyone I'm making a mistake while he plays with other people's money?" Riley's hesitation was telling. I probably shouldn't say anything. Before I could press further, Maya knocked on my door again, pointing urgently at her watch. I had a meeting with potential investors in 15 minutes. "Riley, I have to go. Actual business to run, you know." "Wait," she said quickly. "Will you come to Dad's birthday dinner next week, please? Things are different now." I thought about all the milestones I'd celebrated alone, signing my first office lease, landing my first major client, seeing my company's name in print. Where were they then? "I'll think about it," I said finally, ending the call. The rest of the day flew by in a blur of meetings, client calls, and planning sessions for our next retreat. At midnight, I finally locked up the office, the city lights twinkling below our high-rise location. My phone pinged with a notification. An email from Sierra. "Vanessa, I know we have our differences, but we need to talk. It's important. Things aren't what they seem with certain people we both know. Please call me." I deleted the email without responding. Success had taught me one valuable lesson. Some bridges are better left burned. As I drove home, I passed the street leading to my parents' house. The same house where they'd dismissed my dreams, where Lionel and Delaney had smirked at my plans, where I'd finally found the courage to walk away. My company's latest financial report sat in my bag, numbers that proved every doubter wrong. Sometimes I imagined sending copies to everyone who'd laughed at me, but success was proving to be the sweetest revenge. Little did I know that fate was about to hand me an even better opportunity for payback, because sometimes karma doesn't just knock. It kicks down the door and demands attention. I pulled into my parking spot, exhausted but satisfied. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to show my family exactly what their failure of a daughter had become. The universe, as I was about to discover, had quite the sense of humour. The call came at 3 a.m., jolting me awake. Riley's name flashed on my screen, and my stomach dropped. Nobody calls at this hour with good news. Van, her voice cracked. Everything's falling apart. I sat up, fully alert. What's wrong? It's Lionel. His firm. There was an investigation. The SEC found irregularities. They're freezing all assets. She was crying now, but that's not even the worst part. What do you mean? Dad invested everything with him. The house, his retirement fund, everything. Mum's hysterical. Delaney's parents lost their savings too, and... She hesitated. I put my startup money in his fund. The room seemed to spin. How much are we talking about? Millions. All gone. And there's more. Sierra's company was one of his biggest investors. She's been trying to warn you. Suddenly, Sierra's cryptic messages made sense. I felt sick. Where are you now? I asked, already pulling on clothes. At Mum and Dad's. Lionel's here too. Delaney's screaming at him, and Mum keeps saying she can't breathe. Can you please come? I grabbed my keys, torn between satisfaction and genuine concern. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The scene at my parents' house was chaos. Delaney was pacing the living room, mascara streaking her face. My mother sat rigid in her armchair, looking older than I'd ever seen her. Dad stood by the window, silent and shell-shocked. Lionel hunched on the couch, head in his hands. Oh, look who's here! Delaney spat when I walked in. Come to gloat. That's enough, Riley snapped, surprising everyone. Vanessa's here because I called her. My father turned from the window. Vanessa, he said, his voice hollow, your brother. He made some mistakes, Lionel cut in, but I can fix this. I just need time. Time! Delaney whirled on him. The FBI is involved. We're ruined. My parents are ruined. My mother finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. We'll have to sell the house. Everything we built. I stood there watching my family crumble. The revenge fantasy I'd harbored suddenly felt hollow. These broken people before me weren't the mighty judges who'd condemned my choices. They were just humans who'd put their faith in the wrong person. There might be a way, I heard myself say. All eyes turned to me. What do you mean? Riley asked. I took a deep breath. My company's doing well. Very well. I could help, but what? My mother leaned forward, hope flickering in her eyes. There would be conditions. I met each of their gazes. Strict ones. Lionel stood up. We don't need your charity. Sit down, Dad barked, the first sign of emotion he'd shown all night. Let her speak. I walked to the center of the room, feeling the weight of power shift. I can help with living expenses, legal fees, and maybe even save the house, but you'll all need to work for it. Work? Delaney's voice dripped with disdain. What kind of work? My wellness retreats need staff, real people who understand what it means to lose everything and rebuild. You'll work as volunteers, sharing your stories, helping other women avoid the same mistakes. The silence was deafening. You want us to confess our failures to strangers? My mother looked horrified. I want you to help others while helping yourselves, to understand what real value is. I turned to Lionel. And you'll need to make full restitution to everyone you hurt, starting with Sierra. This is ridiculous, Delaney started, but Lionel grabbed her arm. We'll do it, he said quietly. My father nodded slowly. Whatever it takes. My mother just stared at her hands, tears falling silently. Riley stepped forward. When do we start? I pulled out my phone and opened my calendar. There's a retreat next weekend, but first we need to talk to my lawyers and set everything in writing. I looked at each of them. No shortcuts this time. As I drove home that night, my phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Thank you, but please tell me this isn't just about revenge. I stared at her message for a long time before responding. It's about justice, and maybe healing, for all of us. The sun was rising as I pulled into my parking spot, casting long shadows across the city. In a few hours, I'd need to tell Maya to clear my schedule and call the lawyers. But for now, I sat in my car, watching the dawn break over a world that had shifted on its axis. Sometimes karma doesn't just come full circle, it hands you the pen to write the next chapter yourself. The conference room felt smaller than usual as my family filed in, looking like defendants at a trial. My lawyer, Rachel, spread documents across the polished table while Maya distributed copies to everyone. "These are the terms," I began, standing at the head of the table. "Read them carefully." Lionel scanned the first page, his face darkening. 6 months of mandatory participation, weekly sessions. "Keep reading," I said, watching their expressions change as they reached the financial details. My mother gasped. "This is generous." "It's more than generous," Rachel interjected. "Ms. Simpson is essentially offering a lifeline while taking on significant risk to her company's reputation." Delaney slammed her copy down. "This is humiliating. You want me to share my journey of financial recovery with your clients? I'm not some cautionary tale." "Actually," I leaned forward, "that's exactly what you are. All of you. The wealthy family who look down on others while building their fortune on sand. Now you have a choice. Swallow your pride or drown in debt." "Vanessa," my father's voice wavered. "Some of these requirements, greeting guests, serving meals, maintenance work. Basic human interactions, Dad. The kind you thought were beneath you when I started out." Riley was the only one nodding as she read. "This makes sense. We need to understand value from the ground up." "There's more." Maya stepped forward, clicking through a presentation. "Each of you will be assigned specific roles based on your experiences." The room tensed as their assignments appeared on screen. "Lionel, you'll lead our financial responsibility workshops, share exactly how pride and greed can destroy lives." I watched him flinch. "Delaney, you'll assist with our first-time entrepreneur program, showing them what not to do." "And me?" My mother's voice was barely audible. "You'll work with women struggling with family expectations and societal pressure. Who better than someone who nearly destroyed her daughter's spirit trying to maintain appearances?" She looked away, tears forming. "Your father will handle maintenance and groundskeeping. Riley, you'll assist Maya with administration." I paused. "Any questions?" Lionel stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "This is revenge, plain and simple." "No," I countered. "Revenge would be letting you all suffer the consequences of your actions alone. This is an opportunity for growth." "And if we refuse?" Delaney challenged. Rachel cleared her throat. "Then you face bankruptcy proceedings alone. The house goes into foreclosure and Mr. Leonard faces potential criminal charges without any support for his defense." Silence fell over the room. "I'll do it," Riley said firmly, picking up a pen. One by one they signed, my father first, then my mother, her hand trembling. Lionel and Delaney were last, their signatures angry slashes across the paper. "The first retreat starts Friday," Maya announced. "You'll need to arrive by 7 a.m. for orientation." "7?" My mother looked horrified. "But welcome to the real world, Mom," I cut her off, "where success requires more than just marrying well and judging others." As they filed out, Riley hung back. "Van, I know they deserve this, but what? Just remember you're better than their worst moments. Don't let this change who you are." I watched through my office window as they left the building, my family now effectively my employees. The power shift was complete, but Riley's words echoed in my mind. My phone buzzed, a message from Sierra. "Heard about the deal with your family. Smart move. Can we talk now? There's still more you need to know." Before I could respond, Maya entered with a stack of papers. "The press release about the new Family Wisdom Initiative is ready for your review. And the first group of retreat participants is confirmed. 30 women, all excited about learning from real-world experiences." I smiled, imagining my mother serving breakfast to women she would have previously snubbed at country club meetings. "Perfect. One more thing," Maya hesitated. "Lionel's wife, Delaney, she's pregnant. She didn't want anyone to know yet, but I thought you should be aware." The news hit me like a punch to the gut. A baby. An innocent life about to be born into this mess of pride and consequences. I sat down heavily in my chair. Make sure her duties are appropriate for her condition. And add prenatal wellness sessions to her schedule. Of course. Maya paused at the door. You're doing the right thing, you know. They need this wake-up call. As the sun set over the city, I wondered if Riley was right. Was I really better than their worst moments? Or was I just better at disguising my revenge as redemption? Friday would tell. And something told me this was just the beginning of a very complicated journey. 3 weeks into the Family Wisdom Initiative, I stood at the back of our main conference room, watching my mother address a group of women. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. I spent 30 years judging my daughter for choosing independence over marriage, she said, her voice carrying across the hushed room. I thought I was protecting her. Instead, I almost lost her. A woman in the front row wiped away tears. Others nodded in understanding. Mrs. Andrea, one participant raised her hand. How did it feel when your daughter became more successful than your son? I held my breath, waiting for her rehearsed answer. But what came next surprised me. It felt like a mirror being held up to my face, my mother admitted. Every criticism I'd ever made, every disapproving look, they all came back to haunt me. And now? She glanced at me. Now I'm learning from her. The session ended with a standing ovation. As the room cleared, Riley appeared beside me. She's different, I murmured. They all are, Riley replied. Even Dad. Yesterday he fixed a broken chair and looked proud. Actually proud. Not just rich person proud. A commotion from the hallway interrupted us. Delaney's voice rang out, sharp and angry. I will not be treated like this. I'm carrying your grandchild. We rushed out to find Delaney confronting my mother, who stood her ground with unexpected grace. Sweetheart, my mother said calmly, being pregnant doesn't excuse you from basic kindness. That participant asked for water, not a personal attack. Do you know who I am? Who we were? Yes, my mother replied. We were privileged people who confused money with worth. Now we're learning the difference. I stepped forward, but Riley held me back. Let them handle it, she whispered. Delaney turned to storm off, but stopped short at the sight of Sierra walking down the hallway. What is she doing here? Delaney's face went pale. Sierra smiled coldly. I'm here to discuss restitution with Lionel. You know, the money your husband stole from my company? He didn't steal, Delaney started. Save it, Sierra cut her off. The SEC documents say otherwise. She turned to me. Ready for that meeting? I nodded, leading Sierra to my office. Through the glass walls, I could see Delaney sink into a chair, my mother awkwardly patting her shoulder. Your family's quite the show, Sierra said, settling into a chair. But that's not why I'm here. The restitution is part of it, she interrupted. But there's more. Your brother didn't act alone. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Someone helped him hide the money. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. She pulled out her phone, showing me emails. Someone close to your family. As I read the emails, my hands started shaking. This can't be right. Your father's signature is on everything, Vanessa. He wasn't just an investor, he was a co-conspirator. The world tilted sideways. Through the glass, I could see my father in the garden patiently teaching a group of women about maintaining the herb garden we used for our organic cooking classes. He looked peaceful. Does Lionel know? Sierra shook her head. Your brother thinks he's protecting your father, but your father was protecting himself. A knock at the door made us both jump. Maya entered with a concerned look. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something you need to see. Lionel's financial responsibility workshop, it's going viral. She held up her tablet, showing a video of my brother, tears streaming down his face, telling his story to a packed room. I thought I was untouchable, his voice cracked in the video. I thought money made me better than everyone else. I was wrong, and I hurt everyone I loved because of it. Well, Sierra said softly, Looks like at least one family member is finding redemption. I stood up, my mind racing. I need time to process this, the information about my father. Won't stay secret forever, Sierra finished. The investigators are closing in. You need to decide what you're going to do. As she left, Riley entered, excitement on her face. Van? You won't believe what just happened. Mom actually apologized to Delaney for how she treated her when she first married Lionel. They're both crying in the break room. I stared at the emails on my desk, then at my family through the glass walls. All of them playing their parts, some finding genuine change, others hiding deeper secrets. Riley, I said slowly, what would you do if you discovered that helping someone meant hurting someone else? She studied my face. This isn't just about revenge anymore, is it? No, I replied, watching my father tend to his herbs, wondering how many other things he'd carefully cultivated besides his lies. It's about truth, and it's about to get much more complicated. Dad, we need to talk. I stood in the retreat's garden watching him prune the lavender bushes he'd come to love over the past month. He straightened up slowly, wiping his hands on his work pants. The morning sun caught the new calluses on his palms, hands that used to only hold golf clubs and stock reports. About the SEC investigation, I continued. About what you did. The pruning shears clattered to the ground. Who told you? Does it matter? What matters is you let Lionel take all the blame. Vanessa, you don't understand. Then help me understand. My voice echoed across the garden. Help me understand why my father, who lectured us about integrity our whole lives, helped orchestrate a financial fraud. He sank onto a nearby bench. It started small, just a few adjustments to help Lionel's numbers look better. Then it grew. Before I knew it. Before you knew it, you were hiding millions, destroying lives. I was protecting our family name. No. I stepped closer. You were protecting your pride, just like when you dismissed my business plans, just like when you— Ms. Simpson, Maya's voice interrupted us. The investigators are here. They're asking for both Mr. Harold and Lionel. My father's face went ash white. Through the garden windows, I could see two suited figures in the lobby, badges visible on their belts. Dad, I said quietly, you have a choice. You can come clean now, or— What's going on? Lionel appeared behind us, Delaney hovering anxiously at his side. Dad, why are the feds here for you? Our father stood, straightening his gardening apron with trembling hands. Son, I need to tell you something. But before he could continue, my mother burst into the garden. Harold, don't you dare, we'll lose everything. We already have, I cut in. The only thing left to lose is our integrity. Again, Lionel looked between us, realization dawning on his face. Dad, what did you do? The next hour unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. In the conference room, my father confessed everything to the investigators, while Lionel sat in stunned silence. My mother wept quietly in the corner as Delaney gripped Riley's hand so hard her knuckles went white. Both parties will need to surrender their passports, one investigator said, making notes. Given your cooperation and the restitution program already in place through Ms. Simpson's company, we'll recommend minimal custody time, but— Custody? My mother's head snapped up. Prison? Mom, I said gently, what did you expect? Sierra, who'd been quietly observing, stepped forward. I'm willing to work with them on the restitution terms, given the circumstances. The circumstances? Delaney stood up, her pregnancy now visible beneath her flowing top. My child will be born while both their father and grandfather are in prison. How's that for circumstances? Lionel reached for her hand. Dee, please, this isn't helping. No, you know what would have helped. She spun to face my father. If you had been honest from the start, if you hadn't dragged my husband into your schemes. That's enough, Riley interrupted. We need solutions, not blame. I looked at my family, really looked at them. My father slumped in defeat. My brother facing the consequences of both his actions and his trust. My mother, her carefully constructed world crumbling. And through it all, the retreat participants outside the window going about their transformative journeys, unaware of the drama unfolding inside. "I have a proposition," I said, drawing everyone's attention. "We modify the current arrangement. Dad and Lionel will need to face legal consequences, but the retreat program continues. Mum, Delaney, Riley, you keep working here. Keep helping others learn from our family's mistakes." "And what about the baby?" Delaney whispered. "We'll make sure they know their father and grandfather as men who faced their mistakes, not as men who ran from them." The investigators exchanged glances and nodded. That could work in their favor during sentencing. As they led my father and brother out to process the paperwork, Sierra touched my arm. "You're doing the right thing." "Am I?" I watched my mother collapse into Riley's arms. "Because it feels like I'm destroying what's left of my family." "No," Sierra replied. "You're forcing them to rebuild on a foundation of truth this time. It's painful, but necessary." Through the window, I could see the garden my father had tended so carefully. Like the herbs he'd planted, truth needed time to take root and grow. But unlike his financial deceptions, these roots would be strong, real, and lasting. Maya appeared with fresh contracts and paperwork. It was time to write the next chapter of our family's story, one where redemption came through honesty, not hiding. The courtroom fell silent as the judge prepared to deliver the sentences. 3 months had passed since the truth came out, and now everything would change again. In the matter of federal securities fraud, the judge began. This court sentences Harold Simpson to 18 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. My mother's sharp intake of breath echoed through the room. Riley squeezed my hand. "For defendant Lionel Simpson, considering his cooperation and lesser involvement, 12 months in federal prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release." Delaney, now visibly pregnant, buried her face in her hands. The baby would be 3 months old before Leonel could hold them. "Your Honor," my father stood, his voice shaking. "Before you conclude, may I address the court?" The judge nodded. "I've spent the past 3 months working in my daughter's wellness retreat, tending gardens and watching women rebuild their lives. Every day I saw the kind of courage I lacked. People facing their mistakes honestly." He turned to face the gallery. "I failed as a father long before I failed as a businessman. I taught my children that appearance matters more than integrity. Today, I'm learning the opposite from them." Leonel stood next to him. "And I learned it too late that success built on lies isn't success at all." As the bailiff led them away, Delaney rushed forward. "Wait, please, just one moment." The judge nodded, and Leonel turned back. Delaney pressed something into his hand, a sonogram picture. "It's a girl," she whispered. The doors closed behind them, leaving us in stunned silence until my mother's voice cut through the quiet. "This is your fault," she hissed at me. "If you hadn't forced us into that retreat program, if you hadn't brought Sierra in—" "Stop it!" Riley's voice was sharp. "Van didn't force Dad to commit fraud. She didn't make Leonel lie. She gave us a chance to make things right." "Right?" My mother laughed bitterly. "My husband and son are going to prison. How is that right?" "Because they're finally facing consequences," I said quietly. "Just like we're all facing the consequences of the lies we lived with." Sierra approached us, her lawyer beside her. "The restitution agreement still stands. The retreat program is helping repay the investors, and your family's story is actually attracting more participants." "Our tragedy is your marketing tool," Delaney snapped. "No," Sierra replied calmly. "Your redemption is inspiring others. There's a difference." Back at the retreat center that evening, I found my mother sitting in the garden my father had created. She touched a lavender sprig gently. "He called me last night," she said without looking up. "Said he finally understands why you chose this path. Said watching women find their strength here made him realize how wrong we were about you." "Mom." "No, let me finish." She stood facing me. "I was so focused on what other people thought that I never thought about what was right. Your father did the same thing with money. We taught our children all the wrong lessons. Not all of them, Riley appeared with 3 cups of tea. You taught us family sticks together. We're just redefining what that means. Delaney joined us, her hand resting on her belly. The baby kicked today during my session with the entrepreneurs group, right when I was telling them about how status and money aren't what make you valuable. She's learning already, Riley smiled. Maya rushed out to the garden. Vanessa, you need to see this. The New York Times wants to do a feature on the retreat program. They're calling it From Fraud to Freedom, a family's journey to redemption. No, I said, surprising everyone. We're not doing that. But the publicity, this isn't about publicity anymore. I looked at my mother, at Delaney, at Riley. This is about healing, real healing. My mother nodded slowly. For the first time in my life, I don't care what people think. I just care about making things right. As night fell over the retreat center, we sat in the garden my father had planted, drinking tea and planning for Lionel's daughter's future. Not a future built on appearances or wealth, but on truth and resilience. My phone buzzed. A message from the prison. Dad had been assigned to teach gardening in the prison's rehabilitation program. Lionel was joining a financial literacy initiative for inmates. They're still teaching, I said, showing the message to everyone. Just different lessons now. Delaney touched her belly again. When she asks about her father and grandfather, we'll tell her they were brave enough to change. That's worth more than any fortune they lost. The lavender swayed in the evening breeze. Its scent a reminder that growth comes in unexpected ways. Sometimes it takes losing everything to find what really matters. And sometimes I realized revenge isn't about making others suffer. It's about making them see the truth, even when it hurts. The prison visiting room buzzed with quiet conversation as I sat across from my father, watching him hold his granddaughter for the first time. Baby Emma's tiny hand wrapped around his finger, while Delaney hovered nearby, her protective instincts warring with the need to let her daughter know her grandfather. She has Lionel's eyes, Dad said softly, then looked up at me. Thank you for arranging this. The retreat's lawyer made it happen, I replied. Apparently our program's success carries some weight now. I heard, he nodded. Your mother told me about the Governor's Award for Social Impact and about the new locations opening up. 3 more retreats by spring, I confirmed. Riley's managing the expansion. A guard approached our table. Mr. Harold, your gardening class starts in 10 minutes. Dad carefully handed Emma back to Delaney. The vegetables we planted last month are ready for harvest. We're donating them to local shelters. Just like we do at the retreat, I smiled. I learned from the best. He stood, then hesitated. Vanessa, when I get out, would there be room for 1 more gardener at your retreat? We'll see, I said, but we both knew the answer was yes. Later that day, I walked into our main conference room to find my mother leading a session on redefining success. The irony wasn't lost on me. Society told me that my daughter's worth was tied to marriage and status, she was saying. I told her the same thing. We were both wrong. True worth comes from being authentic, from having the courage to stand up for your beliefs. The room erupted in applause. As the participants filed out, Sierra entered with a stack of documents. Final restitution payments, she announced. Everything's settled. Your family's program actually helped recover more than the original losses. We all won something more valuable anyway, my mother said, joining us. Perspective. Maya burst in, excitement radiating from her. Lionel's program proposal got approved. The prison wants him to expand his financial literacy classes to all minimum security facilities in the state. He finally found his real calling, Delaney added, rocking Emma, teaching others to avoid his mistakes. Riley appeared with fresh coffee for everyone. Speaking of teaching, guess who just signed up for our next retreat? Aunt Patricia. You know, the one who used to call Vanessa a rebellious disappointment at every family gathering. Karma really does come full circle, Sierra laughed. I looked around the room at these women, my once judgmental mother now empowering others, my former rival Sierra, now a trusted ally. Delaney transforming from entitled princess to conscious parent, Riley growing into a confident leader. Van, Riley touched my arm, there's someone here to see you. In the doorway stood a young woman, barely 20. Ms. Vanessa? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm here because of your father's story. My dad's doing the same thing, hiding money, lying to investors. I don't want to end up like your family did, but I don't want to lose mine either. My mother stepped forward. Sweetheart, sit down. Let us tell you what real loss and real gain looks like. As they gathered around the young woman, I slipped out to the garden. The lavender my father planted had spread, creating a purple haven of peace. My phone buzzed with a message from Lionel. Just taught my biggest class yet. One guy said I saved his family by showing him where his choices would lead. Maybe that's what this was all about, I typed back. It was about growth, just not the kind we originally planned. The sun was setting over the retreat center, casting long shadows across the garden my father built, the classrooms where my mother found her voice, the spaces where Delaney learned humility, and the offices where Riley discovered her strength. This wasn't the revenge I'd imagined when I first offered to help my family. It was something better, a transformation that touched not just them, but countless others. Emma's cry echoed from inside, followed by Delaney's gentle shushing. Soon she'd be walking these gardens, growing up in a family that had learned the hard way what really matters. I picked a sprig of lavender, twirling it between my fingers. The sweet scent reminded me of something my father said during his last court appearance. Sometimes you have to lose your way completely to find a better path. We'd all lost our way. We'd all found something better, and maybe that was the point all along. Maya appeared in the garden. Ready? The evening session's about to start. I nodded, tucking the lavender into my pocket. It was time to help another group of women write their own stories of transformation. After all, that's what growing through the cracks in our broken places is all about.
The first sign should have been how quickly Aaliyah showed up at the hospital that night. I hadn't even called her yet. I'm Meredith, and until 6 months ago, I thought I knew exactly how my life would unfold. I had a loving husband, a growing role in our family's jewelry business, and a baby girl who was supposed to make our family complete. Now I'm sitting in my empty house, staring at the nursery door I haven't opened since that night, wondering how I missed all the warning signs. You need to eat something, Aaliyah said, placing a bowl of soup on my bedside table. She'd been staying with us since I lost the baby, playing the role of the perfect sister. Omar's worried about you. Where is he? I asked, though I already knew the answer. He'd been spending more time at the office lately, claiming the business needed extra attention. Board meeting, Aaliyah replied, smoothing her perfectly pressed skirt. But I'm here. I'll always be here for you, sis. I nodded, forcing a weak smile. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Roslyn, my closest friend. Call me ASAP. Something's happening at the office. I should get back to work soon, I said, pushing myself up. Dad's probably wondering where I am. Aaliyah's hand shot out, pressing me back against the pillows. Nobody expects you back yet. Besides, I've been handling your projects. Everything's under control. The way she said it made my skin crawl. Later that evening, I called Roslyn. Her voice was tight with concern. Mir, I overheard something today. Aaliyah was in your father's office for hours. They were discussing some major changes to the spring collection. Your collection. What changes? My throat went dry. I'd spent months developing those designs, drawing inspiration from our grandmother's vintage pieces. They're scrapping most of it. Aaliyah presented her own concepts. Your father seemed impressed. I hung up and made my way downstairs, needing air. That's when I heard them, Omar and Aaliyah's voices drifting from the kitchen. She's not ready, Aaliyah was saying. The company needs direction now. We can't wait for her to pull herself together. I know, Omar replied, his voice heavy with something I couldn't quite identify. But she's my wife. This will destroy her. Sometimes we have to be cruel to be kind. Aaliyah's tone was soft, sympathetic. The board meeting went well today. They agree the company needs new energy, fresh perspective. I pressed my back against the wall, heart pounding. Through the gap in the door, I could see them standing close. Too close. Omar's hand rested on my sister's shoulder,
and she wasn't pulling away. "What about the expansion plans?" Omar asked. "Meredith's been working on those for months." "Already handled," Aaliyah replied. "I've restructured the whole proposal. Dad loves it. The board's voting next week." I wanted to burst in, to confront them both, but something held me back. Maybe it was shock, maybe it was strategy. Instead, I watched as Aaliyah reached up and straightened Omar's tie, her fingers lingering just a moment too long. "Trust me," she said. "This is best for everyone. Meredith needs time to heal, and the business needs to move forward. I can handle both." I slipped away before they could discover me, my mind racing. The sister who'd been braiding my hair since childhood, who'd been my maid of honor, who'd held my hand through every doctor's appointment during my pregnancy, she'd been planning this all along. Back in my room, I pulled out my phone and texted Roslyn. "Need to meet tomorrow, early." Her response was immediate. "Coffee shop on 4th, 7 a.m. You okay?" I wasn't okay. Not even close. But as I lay in bed that night, listening to Omar's steady breathing beside me, something crystallized in my mind. The grief that had been crushing me for months began to transform into something else. Something harder, sharper. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Roslyn. "Found something interesting in the old files. Your grandmother's original designs. The ones before the company got big. You need to see these." I smiled for the first time in months. Grandmother had built this company from nothing, fighting every step of the way. Now her legacy was being hijacked by my own sister, with my husband's help. Well, they weren't the only ones who could play the long game. I closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Instead, I remembered something my grandmother used to say. "In business and in life, darling, never let them see you bleed. Let them think you're broken, then show them your teeth." Tomorrow, I decided I would start showing my teeth. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I was up against, and more importantly, what weapons I had in my arsenal. The nursery door stayed closed, but another door was opening, one that would lead me down a path I never expected to take. "You're looking better," Mom said, passing me the salad bowl at our weekly family dinner. Her smile was warm but cautious, like she was afraid I might shatter. "The time away from work has done you good." If she only knew. I'd spent the past week secretly meeting with Roslyn, poring over grandmother's old designs and piecing together what was happening at the company. But tonight wasn't about business. It was about watching my sister perform her latest act. "Actually," I said, stabbing a cherry tomato with my fork, "I've been thinking about coming back to work." The silence that followed was deafening. Aaliyah's fork clattered against her plate. "Oh, honey," Mom started, "there's no rush." "I have an announcement," Aaliyah interrupted, reaching for Omar's hand across the table. My stomach lurched at their intertwined fingers. "The board has officially appointed me as creative director." Dad beamed. "Aaliyah's been doing fantastic work. The spring collection is already getting buzz from major retailers." My spring collection, my designs, twisted and warped into something unrecognizable. "That's wonderful," I managed, my voice steady. "Congratulations, sis." "There's more," Aaliyah continued, practically glowing. "We're expanding into the Asian market. The board approved my proposal unanimously. My proposal, my contacts, my 3 years of groundwork. I couldn't have done it without Omar's support," she added, giving his hand a squeeze. "He's been instrumental in making this happen." I watched my husband's face carefully. He wouldn't meet my eyes. To new beginnings, Mom raised her glass, oblivious to the undercurrents. And to family supporting family. My phone buzzed. "Roslyn. Found something. Big. Meet me tonight?" "Excuse me," I said, standing up. "I need some air." I stepped onto the patio, the summer evening warm against my skin. Behind me, the door opened and closed. "Mur?" It was Omar. "Are you okay?" "Funny how you're asking that now," I said, not turning around. "After weeks of barely speaking to me." He sighed. "I know I've been distant. It's just seeing you in pain. I didn't know how to handle it. But Aaliyah did, right? She's been helping with work," he said defensively. "Someone had to step up." "Is that all she's been helping with?" Before he could answer, Aaliyah joined us. "Everything okay out here?" "Just perfect," I smiled, the expression feeling foreign on my face. Omar was just telling me how helpful you've been. I wish you'd let me help you too, Aliyah said, touching my arm. You've shut everyone out since, well, you know. The concern in her voice sounded genuine. That's what made it so dangerous. Actually, I said, I've been thinking about starting fresh, maybe launching something new. New? Aliyah's eyebrows shot up. What do you mean? Just ideas, I shrugged. Nothing concrete yet. Back inside, Dad was showing Mom something on his tablet. Look at these numbers, he was saying. Aliyah's changes to the expansion plan are brilliant. I learned from the best, Aliyah said modestly, settling back into her chair. Remember how grandmother always said jewelry should tell a story? My hand clenched around my water glass. How dare she invoke grandmother's memory while stealing her legacy? Speaking of stories, Mom brightened. I found some old photos yesterday, from when you girls were little. Remember that summer at the lake house? When Aliyah pushed me off the dock? I asked sweetly. How could I forget? I didn't push you, Aliyah protested. You slipped. Right, I nodded. Just like I slipped down the stairs at Dad's office that time, or how my design portfolio slipped into the shredder before that big presentation. Girls, Mom warned, but I was already standing up. Thanks for dinner, I said, grabbing my purse. I need to meet Roslyn. At this hour? Omar frowned. Some friends actually show up when you need them, I replied, heading for the door. In my car, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. My phone buzzed again. Roslyn sending an address. On my way, I texted back. Another message popped up, this one from Aliyah. I know you're hurting, but don't do anything rash. Let me help you through this. I laughed out loud in my empty car. Help me through this? She was the one I needed help getting through. Roslyn was waiting at our usual coffee shop, a thick folder on the table. You're not going to believe what I found, she said as I sat down. Remember those vintage pieces your grandmother sold before starting the company? I tracked down the buyers. And they're willing to sell back. All of them. We could rebuild her original collection, the one that started everything. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope. Not the soft, warm kind, but something sharp and bright and dangerous. Make the calls, I said. It's time to remind everyone where this company really came from. Roslyn grinned. Now that's the Meredith I remember. I found Omar's favorite tie hanging in Aliyah's coat closet on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't snooping. I'd stopped by to drop off some old company files she'd requested, using the spare key she'd given me years ago. The bright blue silk caught my eye immediately. I'd bought him that tie in Milan last spring. My phone rang, making me jump. It was Roslyn. You need to get to your grandmother's storage unit, she said without preamble. Now. 20 minutes later, I was kneeling beside Roslyn on a dusty concrete floor, surrounded by cardboard boxes. Look at this, she said, carefully unfolding a yellowed letter. It's from your grandmother to your mom. The paper crackled as I took it. My grandmother's elegant handwriting filled the page. Dearest Stella, remember what I told you about legacy. It's not just about the jewelry, it's about the stories they carry. Every piece I've created holds a truth. When the time comes, make sure the girls understand this, especially Meredith. She has my eye for the hidden meanings. There's more, Roslyn said, pulling out a small leather-bound notebook. Design sketches, supplier contacts, everything from before the company went big. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. These weren't just designs. They were my grandmother's secrets, her real legacy. My phone buzzed. Omar, where are you? Aliyah said you were supposed to drop off files. Got delayed, I typed back. Something came up? Another text followed immediately. Coming home tonight? I stared at the message. Home. Where his toothbrush had mysteriously vanished from our bathroom, where his favorite coffee mug now lived in Aliyah's kitchen cabinet. No, I replied, staying at Roslyn's. Roslyn said softly. There's something else you should see. She handed me a small velvet box. Inside was a stunning Art Deco ring, emeralds and diamonds set in platinum. Your grandmother's engagement ring, Roslyn explained, the one that inspired her first collection. Mom always said it was lost, I whispered. Look at the inscription. Inside the band, tiny letters spelled out, truth before beauty, strength before surrender. My phone buzzed again. Aliyah this time. We need to talk. Dinner tomorrow? Can't, I replied. Busy. With what? Came her immediate response. Life, I typed back, then turned off my phone. Help me pack all this, I told Roslyn. Every sketch, every note, every piece of jewelry. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to tell some new stories. Later that night, sprawled across Roslyn's living room floor with takeout containers and grandmother's notebooks, we started planning. Jason Moore called, Roslyn mentioned casually. He's interested in meeting. I looked up sharply. Jason had been our family's biggest distributor before Aaliyah redirected his contracts. He says the new designs aren't selling like yours did, Roslyn continued. Apparently customers miss the storytelling element. I smiled, remembering how grandmother always insisted each piece should have its own narrative. My phone, now turned back on, chimed with a text from Mom. Aaliyah and Omar have news. Family dinner Sunday. Please come. News, I muttered. Wonder what they're planning to steal from me this time. Maybe it's time to stop playing defense, Roslyn suggested, reaching for another spring roll. Your grandmother's designs, Jason's distribution network. We'd need capital, I pointed out. Already handled, Roslyn grinned. Remember my trust fund? I've been looking for a good investment opportunity. I stared at my oldest friend, feeling tears prick my eyes. Partners? She asked, holding out her hand. Partners, I agreed, grasping it. My phone buzzed again. Omar, where are your design files? Aaliyah needs them for the rebranding. I looked at grandmother's ring, still sitting in its velvet box. Truth before beauty, strength before surrender. Lost them, I texted back. Sorry. Roslyn peered over my shoulder. You know they're going to figure it out eventually. Good, I said, picking up the ring. I'm counting on it. I slipped it onto my finger, surprised by how perfectly it fit. In the dim light, the emeralds seemed to glow with their own inner fire. Your grandmother would be proud, Roslyn said quietly. She'd be furious, I corrected, about what they've done to her company, about what they've done to me. So what's our first move? I pulled out grandmother's notebook, turning to a particular sketch. We start with this piece, her first major design, the one that put her on the map. The phoenix pendant? Appropriate, don't you think? I smiled. Rising from the ashes and all that. Roslyn raised her wine glass. To new beginnings. No, I said, thinking of Aaliyah's words at the family dinner. To telling stories. The real ones this time. We worked late into the night, surrounded by the ghosts of old designs and the promise of new ones. Somewhere across town, my sister was probably sleeping in my husband's arms. But for the first time since losing the baby, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I was finally learning to swim. The phoenix pendant needs to be ready for next week's preview, I told the craftsman, sliding my grandmother's original sketch across his workbench. Can you match this exactly? He studied the intricate design, whistling softly. This is old-school craftsmanship. Haven't seen work like this in years. That's the point, I smiled. We're bringing it back. My phone buzzed. Jason, meeting moved to 2 p.m., bringing potential investors. Perfect timing, Roslyn said, reading over my shoulder. The samples will be ready by then. We'd been working around the clock for 2 weeks, secretly setting up our new venture while Aaliyah paraded around the family company like a queen in waiting. The irony wasn't lost on me. Meredith? A familiar voice made me freeze. I turned to find Omar standing in the workshop doorway, looking confused. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing, I replied coolly. This isn't exactly your usual territory. He stepped closer, eyes scanning the workbench. Aaliyah's been trying to reach you. You missed another family dinner. I've been busy. With what? His gaze landed on the phoenix sketch. These look like grandmother's designs, I finished for him. They are. But those belong to the company. No, I corrected. They belong to me. Grandmother left them to me personally. Check the will. His face darkened. Aaliyah's not going to like this. Aaliyah doesn't have to like anything I do anymore, I said, gathering the sketches. Just like I don't have to like her sleeping with my husband. He flinched. It's not what you think. Really? So your toothbrush ended up in her bathroom by accident? Before he could respond, my phone rang. Jason again. I need to take this, I said, turning away. I'm sure you can find your way out. You're good at that. Later that afternoon, I sat across from Jason and 3 potential investors in a sleek conference room. "The Phoenix Collection," I announced, unveiling the first pieces, a revival of classic designs with modern interpretations. "These are extraordinary," one investor murmured, examining the pendant. "The craftsmanship, the storytelling element." "That's our signature," Rosalind explained. "Every piece tells a story of transformation, of rising above circumstances." "Speaking of circumstances," Jason leaned forward, "I heard interesting rumors about the family company's latest expansion. Seems there are some irregularities in the financing." I kept my face neutral. "Oh? Your sister's brilliant plan might not be so brilliant after all," he continued. "The Asian market isn't responding well to the new designs. They're calling them soulless copies." My grandmother's voice echoed in my head. Truth before beauty. "We're offering something different," I said. "Authenticity, heritage, real stories." "And real numbers," Rosalind added, distributing financial projections. 2 hours later, we had commitments from all 3 investors. As they filed out, Jason lingered. "There's something else you should know," he said quietly. "Omar's been making some questionable moves with company funds. If anyone looked closely..." "Are you suggesting someone should?" He shrugged. "I'm suggesting karma has interesting timing." My phone buzzed. "Aaliyah, we need to announce the engagement at next month's charity gala. Stop avoiding me." I showed the message to Rosalind, who whistled. "They're not wasting any time." "Neither are we," I replied, picking up the Phoenix pendant. "Book us a spot at the gala. It's time for our preview to go public." "That's playing with fire," she warned. "Good thing we have a Phoenix then." That evening, I visited grandmother's grave, placing fresh flowers beside her headstone. "I found your ring," I told her, touching the emeralds on my finger, "and your real legacy. I won't let them bury it again." My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Interesting designs, very familiar. Careful where you step, sis. A." I laughed out loud in the quiet cemetery. "Still tracking my phone, Aaliyah?" I muttered. Amateur move. Another message followed from Omar. "We need to talk, about everything." "Nothing left to talk about," I typed back. "But plenty left to show." Rosalind called as I was leaving the cemetery. "Samples are ready for the photo shoot tomorrow, and Jason sent over some interesting documents about those financial irregularities." "Perfect," I said, starting my car. "Time to remind everyone what real jewelry looks like." "And real revenge?" I touched grandmother's ring again, feeling its weight, its history, its truth. "No," I replied. "Time to remind them what real strength looks like." The Phoenix pendant caught the setting sun as it lay on my passenger seat, its golden wings seeming to flutter in the light. Soon, very soon, it would take flight, and this time, I wouldn't be the one getting burned. The wedding invitation arrived on cream-colored cardstock, wrapped in gold ribbon. I didn't need to open it to know what it said. Aaliyah had already leaked the engagement photos to every fashion magazine in the city. "You don't have to go," Rosalind said, watching me turn the envelope over in my hands. "Actually, I do." I smiled, sliding the invitation across my desk. "The gala is the night before. Perfect timing for our launch." My phone buzzed. An anonymous email. Financial records attached. "You might find page 7 interesting. J." I opened the attachment, scanning until I found what Jason had flagged. There it was, a series of suspicious transfers from the company's expansion fund to a private account. "Look at this," I told Rosalind. "Seems my dear sister's been creative with more than just jewelry designs." "Meredith?" Mom's voice made us both jump. She stood in my office doorway, looking uncertain. "I didn't expect to find you here." "Just clearing out some old files," I lied smoothly. "Did you need something?" She stepped inside, fidgeting with her bracelet, one of grandmother's pieces. "The wedding. Aaliyah wants you to be her maid of honor." I laughed so hard I nearly fell out of my chair. "You can't be serious." "She feels terrible about everything. She wants to make things right. By marrying my husband?" "Ex-husband," Mom corrected gently. "The divorce was finalized last week." "I know. I signed the papers." I stood up, gathering the financial documents. "Tell Aaliyah thanks, but I'll just be attending as a guest, a very interested guest." "Please don't make a scene," Mom pleaded. "It's supposed to be a happy day." Oh, it will be memorable, I promised. Very memorable. After she left, Rosalind raised an eyebrow. Maid of honor? That's either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. It's Aaliyah covering her bases, I said, checking my phone as another message came through. This one from Jason. Your sister's meeting with Asian investors canceled. They're interested in meeting you instead. The Phoenix collection preview is trending, Rosalind noted, showing me her tablet. People are already asking where they can buy it. They'll find out at the gala, I said, right before the happy couple's wedding. My phone rang. Omar this time. I let it go to voicemail. You should hear this, Rosalind said suddenly, turning up the volume on a business news podcast. Rumors of financial discrepancies at Lane Jewelry have investors concerned. Sources suggest the company's ambitious expansion plans may be built on shaky ground. I smiled. Karma works fast these days. The office door flew open. Aaliyah stormed in, face flushed. What did you do? I'm not the one playing games with company money, I replied calmly, or other people's husbands. You're trying to ruin everything, she hissed. The expansion, the wedding. No, I cut her off. I'm trying to protect grandmother's legacy, the one you're destroying with cheap copies and cheaper ethics. You abandoned the company when we needed you most. I lost my baby. The words exploded out of me. And while I was grieving, you stole everything else. She stepped back, something like guilt flickering across her face. It wasn't planned. Save it for your vows, I said, turning back to my computer. I'm sure you'll make them sound beautiful. You're good at that, making ugly things sound beautiful. The gala, she said suddenly. You're planning something. I touched grandmother's ring. Just honoring our family's real legacy. After she left, Rosalind let out a low whistle. She's scared. She should be. I pulled up the invitation list for our preview event. Add her name, front row seat. You're inviting her to our launch? Know your enemy, I quoted, remembering grandmother's words. Keep them close enough to watch them fall. My phone buzzed again. A text from Dad. Need to discuss company finances. Urgent. Too late, I muttered, sending a quick in-meetings response. The Phoenix pendant caught the light on my desk, its wings spreading shadows across the financial documents. Soon everyone would see the truth. About the company, about Aaliyah, about everything. The photographers are confirmed for the gala, Rosalind reported. Fashion blogs are already buzzing about a mysterious new collection. Perfect. I stood up, gathering my things. Time to go home and RSVP to my sister's wedding. What are you going to write? I pulled out the response card, checking the attending box with a flourish. In the comments section I wrote, looking forward to sharing this special day with everyone. All the stories deserve to be told. Subtle, Rosalind smirked. Just wait, I said, sealing the envelope. The real story hasn't even started yet. The bride requests lilies for the bouquet, the wedding planner announced, flipping through her notebook. And the color scheme is gold and cream, I finished, examining my nails. How original. We sat in Aaliyah's penthouse apartment, my old apartment, surrounded by wedding samples and swatches. Playing the supportive sister was exhausting, but necessary. Meredith, Aaliyah sighed, if this is too difficult for you. Not at all, I smiled. I want everything to be perfect. My phone buzzed. Jason, financial investigation moving forward. Board meeting called for Monday. Speaking of perfect, I said, standing up, I should check on the gala arrangements. Big night for everyone. Wait, Aaliyah called as I reached the door. I found something in Omar's old jacket. She pulled out a folded paper, a note I'd written to Omar the day before I lost the baby. My hands trembled as I recognized it. I can't wait to meet our daughter, Aaliyah read aloud. I already know she'll have your smile. Stop, I whispered. I found it the night you were in the hospital, she continued. Omar was so broken, so lost. So you comforted him? I spat. In my bed? It wasn't like that. No. I pulled out my phone, showing her the photos Jason had sent. These bank transfers tell a different story. You two were planning this long before I lost the baby. Her face went pale. Where did you get those? Karma has a way of revealing truth, I said, opening the door. See you at the gala. Outside, I called Rosalind. Everything ready? Preview setup is complete, she confirmed. Press is confirmed, and you'll never guess who just RSVP'd. The board members. All of them? Apparently, they're very interested in your tribute collection to your grandmother. I laughed. If they only knew. That evening, I visited the gala venue, watching workers set up displays. The Phoenix collection would be unveiled in the center, surrounded by grandmother's original pieces, the ones Aaliyah thought were lost forever. My phone rang. Omar. Don't hang up, he said quickly. Please. What do you want? I found the financial records on Aaliyah's laptop, the transfers, the fake contracts. Finally doing your due diligence? I asked sweetly. Bit late for that. I didn't know, he insisted, about any of it. The money, the designs. She said you approved everything. And you believed her? Or did you just want to believe her? Silence. The night I lost the baby, I continued, my voice steady. Where were you, really? With her, right? Planning your future while I was losing ours? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. See you at the gala, I said, hanging up. Roslyn appeared with 2 glasses of wine. You okay? Better than okay, I replied, taking a glass. Everything's falling into place. The press release is ready, she said. Once we announce the collection's providence. Aaliyah's house of cards collapses, I finished, along with her reputation. My phone buzzed again. Mom. Found more of grandmother's old pieces in the attic, coming to drop them off. Don't tell her anything, I warned Roslyn. Not yet. Mom arrived 20 minutes later, carrying a small box. I thought these might help with your tribute collection, she said, then paused, looking around. This is more than a tribute. It's grandmother's real legacy, I explained, the one Aaliyah tried to erase. Oh, girls, Mom sighed. What happened to you two? Ask your younger daughter, I suggested, the one who's marrying my husband. Ex-husband, Mom corrected automatically, then stopped. These designs, they're exact replicas. No, I said. They're the originals. Every piece tells a story, remember? Including the story of how they were almost stolen. Understanding dawned in her eyes. The financial irregularities. The board meeting. Like I said, I smiled. Every piece tells a story. My phone lit up. Aaliyah, we need to talk. Now. Sorry, sis, I typed back. Too busy planning your perfect day. The Phoenix rises, Roslyn said, gesturing to the central display. Ready to set the world on fire. Not the world, I corrected. Just one very carefully constructed lie. Mom touched the pendant gently. Your grandmother would be proud and terrified. She taught me well, I said. Truth before beauty, strength before surrender. And revenge? Mom asked quietly. Justice, I corrected. For grandmother's legacy, for my lost daughter, for everything. My phone buzzed one final time. Jason. Board members requesting private viewing before gala, tomorrow morning. Perfect, I replied, then turned to Roslyn. Time to start the fire. The wedding's the day after the gala, Mom reminded me. Please tell me you're not planning. Don't worry, I assured her, touching grandmother's ring. Everything will happen exactly as it should. In the fading light, the Phoenix collection seemed to glow with its own inner fire, each piece a weapon disguised as art, just like grandmother taught me. Tomorrow, the truth would start spreading. By the wedding, it would be an inferno, and I had front row seats to watch it burn. The gala buzzed with anticipation. Camera flashes lit up the room as journalists circled like sharks, drawn by the whispers of scandal and the promise of a spectacular reveal. 5 minutes, Roslyn whispered, adjusting my grandmother's emerald ring on my finger. Are you ready? I watched Aaliyah across the room, resplendent in white, clinging to Omar's arm as she worked the crowd. She looked confident, radiant even. She had no idea what was coming. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, please gather for the unveiling of the Phoenix collection. The crowd shifted, forming a semicircle around the covered displays. I caught sight of the board members, their faces tense with barely concealed concern. They'd seen the financial records that morning. Before we begin, I said, stepping onto the small platform, I'd like to share a story. Aaliyah's smile faltered. Many of you knew my grandmother, I continued, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. She built this industry on one simple principle. Every piece of jewelry tells a story. I pulled the cover off the first display case. Gasps rippled through the crowd. These are her original pieces, I announced. Not copies, not inspired by. The actual pieces that launched our family's legacy. Pieces that were supposedly lost. Meredith, Aaliyah stepped forward, her voice sharp. This isn't the time. Actually, it's exactly the time. I cut her off. Because these pieces tell quite a story. About theft, about betrayal, about fraud. The room erupted in whispers. Camera flashes intensified. The expansion plans you've all been hearing about? I continued, nodding to the board members. Built on stolen designs and misappropriated funds. The proof has already been sent to your emails. Omar stepped forward. That's enough. No, I said firmly. It's not nearly enough. Tell them, Omar. Tell them about the night I lost our baby. Tell them where you really were. His face went ashen. Aaliyah grabbed his arm, but he shook her off. I was with her, he admitted, his voice breaking. We'd been planning. You never meant for me to find out, I finished. Just like you never meant for the board to discover the missing funds, or for our investors to learn that the new designs were plagiarized. That's a lie, Aaliyah shouted, but her voice shook. I unveiled the second display, grandmother's original sketches alongside Aaliyah's new designs. The similarities were undeniable. The Phoenix collection isn't just jewelry, I announced to the stunned crowd. It's evidence of what was stolen, what was lost, and what rises from the ashes. Dad pushed through the crowd, his face red. Stop this immediately. Why? I asked, pulling out my phone. Afraid of what else might come to light, like these bank transfers? The large screen behind me lit up with financial records. Aaliyah's perfectly crafted facade cracked. It was supposed to be mine, she burst out. All of it. I was always better at this than you, but grandmother chose you. She always chose you. So you chose revenge? I asked quietly. Taking my husband, my company, my life? You weren't even there, she screamed. After you lost the baby, you checked out. Someone had to step up. Into my bed? I asked sweetly. Into my role? Into my bank accounts? The crowd was dead silent now, watching the drama unfold like a tennis match. The board has already voted, I announced. The expansion plans are canceled. The funds will be audited. And the Phoenix collection? It's launching under my new company, with the original designs, original documentation, and original spirit. You can't do this, Aaliyah whispered. The wedding is tomorrow, I know. I smiled. Consider this my wedding gift. The truth, finally exposed. Omar stepped forward again. Meredith, please, save it for your vows. I cut him off. I'm sure you can come up with something beautiful. You're both so good at pretty lies. Rosalind appeared at my side with champagne. To the Phoenix collection, she announced, raising her glass, and to truth before beauty. The crowd, sensing which way the wind was blowing, raised their glasses. Camera shutters clicked frantically. You've ruined everything, Aaliyah hissed as she pushed past me. No, I corrected her. You did that yourself. I just exposed it. As she fled the room, Omar trailing behind her, I turned back to the assembled guests. The collection goes on sale tomorrow, I announced. Each piece comes with its story, its true story, because that's what my grandmother taught me. Jewelry isn't just about beauty, it's about truth. The applause was deafening. As reporters swarmed forward with questions, I caught sight of Mom in the corner, tears streaming down her face. But she was smiling. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Jason. Board meeting moved up. Tomorrow morning. They want you there. I touched grandmother's ring, feeling its weight, its history, its vindication. The phoenix had risen, and tomorrow at my sister's wedding, it would spread its wings one final time. The church was eerily quiet as I slipped into the back pew. No bride, no groom, just scattered guests whispering among themselves. The morning news had done its work, headlines screaming about fraud, stolen designs, and corporate scandal. She's not coming, Rosalind whispered, sliding in beside me. Wait for it, I murmured. Right on cue, Mom appeared in the side door, gesturing frantically. Meredith, she's asking for you. I found Aaliyah in the bridal suite, still in her wedding dress, mascara streaking her cheeks. Come to gloat? No, I said, closing the door. Come to finish our story. There's nothing left to finish. You won. You destroyed everything. You did that, I corrected, sitting across from her. I just exposed the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is, I was always in your shadow. Perfect Meredith, grandmother's favorite, dad's golden child. And that justified stealing my life? I didn't steal it, she exploded. You threw it away. After the miscarriage, you just disappeared. Omar needed someone. The company needed someone. They needed support, not theft. I loved him, she whispered. I still love him. Enough to commit fraud for him? Her head snapped up. That was his idea. The transfers, the fake contracts. He said we needed startup capital for our own venture. My phone buzzed. Jason, Omar just confessed everything to the board, trying to cut a deal. I showed Aaliyah the message. She crumpled, her white dress pooling around her like surrender. He promised we'd pay it back, she whispered. After the wedding, after the expansion, after you'd stolen everything I built. I didn't know about the baby, she said suddenly. That night when he came to me, he didn't tell me you were in the hospital until morning. The truth I'd suspected but never confirmed hit like a physical blow. You were together while I was losing our child? I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. A knock interrupted us. Dad entered, his face grave. The board's decision is unanimous. Omar's been removed. All expansion plans canceled. He looked at Aaliyah. They want the ring. What ring? Grandmother's emerald ring, he said. The one you claimed was lost when you took over the design department. Aaliyah's hand went to her neck, pulling out a chain. The ring dangled from it, an exact copy of the one on my finger. A replica, she admitted. I had it made when I saw the original in your jewelry box. I thought, if I had her ring, I'd have her blessing. But you didn't, I said softly, because you can't steal blessing any more than you can steal talent. She unclasped the chain, letting the fake ring fall into Dad's palm. What happens now? Now? I stood up. Now I go run my company. The real one, built on grandmother's true legacy. And you? I paused at the door. You get to live with your choices. Outside, guests were already leaving. Omar was nowhere to be seen. Mom waited by my car, holding a small package. Found this in the attic, she said. It's addressed to both of you. Inside was a letter in grandmother's handwriting, dated just before she died. My dearest girls, competition breeds excellence, but rivalry destroys families. Aaliyah, your fire is your strength, but unchecked, it burns everything it touches. Meredith, your patience is powerful, but remember, even phoenixes must sometimes burn to rise again. Love each other. That's the only legacy that matters. I found Aaliyah still in the bridal suite, staring at her reflection. Here, I said, holding out the letter. One last story from grandmother. She read it silently, fresh tears falling. I can't take back what I did, she said finally. No, I agreed, but you can go forward differently. How? I touched my grandmother's ring, the real one, by remembering what she taught us. Truth before beauty, strength before surrender. And forgiveness? She asked quietly. That comes with time, I said, and truth. My phone buzzed. Roslyn, press conference in an hour. Ready? Tell them I'm on my way, I replied. To Aaliyah, I added, when you're ready to tell the whole truth about everything, come find me. Why would you give me that chance? I showed her grandmother's letter again. Because some legacies are worth saving. Outside, the autumn sun caught the emeralds in my ring, sending green fire dancing across the church steps. Roslyn waited by her car, grinning. Ready to show the world what real jewelry looks like? She asked. I looked back at the church one last time. Through the window, I could see Aaliyah reading grandmother's letter again, her white dress now a symbol of something different. Not a stolen future, but a chance for a new beginning. No, I said, sliding into the car, ready to show them what real strength looks like. The phoenix pendant caught the light as we drove away, its wings spread wide, ready to soar, just like grandmother always intended, just like me. The call came on a Tuesday evening, just as I was wrapping up another 14-hour workday. My phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number, but the area code was painfully familiar. I almost didn't answer. Quinn speaking. Silence crackled through the line, then, Quinn, it's Trey. My hand froze on the stack of briefs I'd been organizing. 5 years of carefully constructed walls threatened to crumble at the sound of his voice. I'm Quinn Nichols, and until that moment, I thought I'd finally moved past the woman who lost everything to the man on the other end of this call. I need your help, he said, his voice rough with desperation. Please, I laughed, sharp and bitter. You've got some nerve. I know, but you're the best family lawyer in the state now, and... He paused. Marley's trying to take my kids. Marley, my former best friend, the woman he left me for 3 weeks after I lost our baby, the perfect pair who destroyed my life and built their own on its ashes. Find another lawyer, I said, reaching to end the call. Wait, his voice cracked. Just meet with me. One meeting. Please, Quinn. A knock at my office door saved me from responding. Valeria, my law partner, stuck her head in. Still here? The Thompson deposition's at 8 tomorrow. I held up one finger, then spoke into the phone. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., my office, don't be late. I hung up before he could respond. Was that who I think it was? Valeria asked, settling into the chair across from my desk. I nodded, my hands shaking as I straightened papers that didn't need straightening. The universe has a sick sense of humor. Want to talk about it? Not really. I stood, grabbing my coat, but I could use a drink. 20 minutes later, we sat in our usual corner booth at O'Malley's. Valeria waited until the waitress delivered our wines before leaning forward. Spill. Remember the case that made me switch to family law? I took a long sip of Cabernet. The woman whose husband left her for her best friend while she was still grieving a miscarriage. That was you? Valeria's eyes widened. I always thought... Damn, Quinn. Yeah. I traced the rim of my glass. That's why I left corporate law, threw myself into women's advocacy instead, needed something meaningful after everything. And now he wants your help? Against Marley. I couldn't help but smile, though it felt more like baring teeth. Karma's a fascinating thing, isn't it? Valeria studied me carefully. You're not actually considering it? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from my sister Zoe. Just saw Trey's name trending. You might want to check the news. I pulled up the local news site, and there it was. Tech CEO Trey Wheeler steps down amid scandal. The article detailed allegations of financial misconduct, with Marley quoted extensively about her husband's betrayal of trust. Well, well, Valeria murmured, reading over my shoulder. Looks like someone's world is imploding. Good, I said, but the word felt hollow. 5 years ago, I would have celebrated this. Now... I should call Bethany. Your mentor? Why? Because tomorrow morning, I'm going to sit across from the man who broke me, and I need to know if I can represent him without destroying what's left of my soul. I drained my wine. Or, if I should, Valeria grabbed my hand. Quinn, listen to me. You've built something amazing here. Your cases have changed lives. Don't let him drag you back into that darkness. Maybe that's exactly why I should take it. I met her concerned gaze. Who better to ensure justice is served than someone who knows exactly what they're capable of? My phone buzzed again. Another text from Zoe. Whatever you're thinking, call me first. Remember what you always tell your clients. Revenge might feel good, but justice feels better. I stared at the message, remembering all the women I'd helped over the years. The ones who'd lost everything, just like me. The ones who'd found their strength again, just like me. You know what the worst part is? I said finally. Part of me still wants to help him. The part that remembers who he was before everything. That's because you're a good person, Valeria said. But good people can make dangerous opponents when pushed too far. I thought about the meeting tomorrow, about facing Trey across my desk, about looking into the eyes that once held my whole world and seeing desperation instead of love. Order another round, I told Valeria. I need to figure out if I'm going to be his salvation or his reckoning.
She signaled the waitress, then turned back to me with a knowing look. Why do I have a feeling you're going to be both? I didn't answer. I was too busy planning how to turn this unexpected reunion into something that would serve justice. Real justice. For everyone involved. Including me. 9 o'clock sharp, and my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Ms. Nichols, Mr. Wheeler is here. I took a deep breath, straightened my blazer, and pressed the button. Send him in. The man who walked through my door wasn't the polished CEO I'd seen in news photos. His designer suit hung loose on his frame, dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his usually perfect hair needed a trim. Good. Quinn, he said, stopping just inside the doorway. Thank you for... Sit down, I cut him off, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. You have 30 minutes. He sat, hands fidgeting with his wedding ring, a different one than the one I'd placed on his finger 8 years ago. I don't know where to start. Try the truth. For once. His flinch was satisfying. I deserve that. I deserve worse. He ran a hand through his hair. Marley's trying to take everything. The kids, the house, my company shares. I saw the news. Financial misconduct? It's all lies. His voice cracked. She set me up. Used my login credentials to make unauthorized transfers, deleted the evidence, then reported me to the board. I can't prove it was her, but... And now she wants full custody of your children? He nodded, pulling out his phone. Look. He slid it across the desk, showing me a photo of 2 children, a boy around 4 and a girl, maybe 2. Tommy and Sarah. She's threatening to tell the judge I'm unstable, that I'm a danger to them. She's already convinced the board I'm a criminal. I studied the photo longer than necessary, fighting the twist in my gut. Those could have been our children. Why me? I asked finally. There are plenty of good family lawyers in this city. Because you're the best, because you know her, the real her. He leaned forward. And because you're the only one who might understand what she's capable of. Careful, I warned. That's your wife you're talking about. Soon-to-be ex-wife. He laughed bitterly. Karma, right? I left you for her, and now... Stop. I stood up, walking to the window. This isn't about us, isn't it? His voice was closer now. He'd stood too. Quinn, I know I hurt you. What I did was unforgivable. But these are my kids. I turned to face him. And what makes you think I won't hurt you right back? Because I know you. Despite everything, you believe in justice. Real justice. He stepped closer. And because you've spent the last 5 years helping people like me, parents fighting to keep their children. Parents like you? My laugh was harsh. You mean parents who destroyed their families? Who betrayed everyone who loved them? Parents who made mistakes, he corrected quietly. Parents who would do anything to protect their children. Before I could respond, my door opened and Valeria walked in. Perfect timing. We'd planned this interruption. Sorry to interrupt, she said, not sounding sorry at all. Quinn, the Martinez hearing got moved up. We need to review the strategy. Give me 5 minutes, I told her, then turned back to Trey. Show me the custody filing. He pulled a thick envelope from his briefcase, hands shaking slightly as he handed it over. I skimmed the documents, my jaw tightening at Marley's allegations. Emotional abuse, financial manipulation, paranoid behavior. She's going for the jugular, I murmured. Will you help me? His voice was barely a whisper. I looked up, meeting his desperate gaze. I'll review the case, that's all I'm promising right now. Thank you. He stood, reaching for his briefcase. Quinn, Don't. I held up a hand. If I take this case, we keep things strictly professional. No apologies, no explanations, no past. Just the facts and the law. Understood? He nodded. When will you decide? I'll call you tomorrow. I pressed the intercom. Lisa, please show Mr. Wheeler out. After he left, Valeria closed the door and raised an eyebrow. Well? I held up the custody filing. Read this. Tell me what you think. She took the papers, scanning quickly. Her eyes widened. These allegations, they're almost identical to what happened with us, I finished. Right down to the gaslighting accusations. You think she's using your past as a template? I think Marley hasn't changed. I sat back down, mind racing. She's still the same manipulative person who helped destroy my marriage, only now she's doing it to him. So, you're taking the case? I pulled out my phone, pulling up the photo of Tommy and Sarah. Those kids don't deserve to be pawns in their mother's game. I looked up at Valeria. Call Bethany. Tell her I need her to co-counsel. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. And Trey? Trey's just a client. I started typing an email to my investigator. But Marley? She's about to learn why they call me the Ice Queen of Family Court. Valeria smiled. Now that's the Quinn I know. I returned her smile, but inside, my heart was racing. Tomorrow, I'd call Trey and accept his case. And then the real battle would begin. You're playing with fire, Bethany said, tossing the case file onto her mahogany desk. We were in her corner office, the city skyline glittering behind her. Taking your ex-husband's case against your former best friend? The media will have a field day. Let them. I crossed my legs, projecting more confidence than I felt. It might actually help us. How so? Because the moment this hits the news, every woman Marley has ever wronged will come forward. I pulled out my phone, showing Bethany the emails I'd received since word got out. 3 already have. Bethany leaned forward, reading. Her eyebrows shot up. These are serious allegations. And familiar ones. I swiped to the next email. She has a pattern. Befriend, manipulate, destroy, profit. She did it to me, she's doing it to Trey, and according to these women, she's done it before. A knock at the door interrupted us. Valeria entered, waving a tablet. You need to see this. She pulled up a video, Marley on a morning show, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. I'm just so worried about the children, she sobbed. When I discovered the financial irregularities, I had to act. But now he's hired his ex-wife as his lawyer, and I fear what they might do. Turn it off, I snapped. She's playing the victim card perfectly, Bethany mused, and painting you as the vengeful ex. My phone buzzed, Zoe calling. Hey, sis. Have you seen it? She didn't wait for an answer. Quinn, this is exactly what she wants. She's baiting you. I know. I put the phone on speaker. But she made a mistake. What's that? She mentioned the kids. I smiled grimly. Which means I can subpoena their school records, medical records, everything, including the incident report from Tommy's preschool last month. Valeria's head snapped up. What incident report? The one where Tommy's teacher documented bruises and emotional distress after returning from a weekend with Marley. I pulled out another file. My investigator found it this morning. Bethany whistled low. That's going to hurt her case. Quinn, Zoe's voice was worried. Be careful. Remember what happened last time someone threatened Marley's perfect image? I did remember. The photos she'd doctored, the rumors she'd spread, the carefully orchestrated character assassination that had left me looking like the unstable one. Not this time, I said firmly. This time I have proof. A text message popped up on my phone from Trey. Marley just served me with an emergency custody motion, hearing tomorrow at 9. She's moving fast, Bethany observed, because she knows we're gathering evidence. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. Valeria, prep the witness list. Bethany, I need you to handle the financial angle. Follow those transfers. Find the proof it was her. Zoe, can you... Already on it, my sister interrupted. I'm reaching out to my social media contacts. If there are more victims, we'll find them. After ending the call, I turned to Bethany. You haven't asked why I'm really doing this. Don't need to. She stood, coming around her desk. 5 years ago, you walked into my office, barely holding yourself together, and asked me to mentor you in family law. Said you wanted to help people who'd been betrayed like you had. And now I'm helping the man who betrayed me. No. She put a hand on my shoulder. You're helping his children, and exposing a woman who's hurt too many people. My phone buzzed again. An email from Marley's attorney, Samir. I read it aloud. Consider this a professional courtesy. My client has documentation of your past mental health struggles following your miscarriage. Drop this case, or it becomes public record. Valeria swore. Bethany's face hardened, but I felt oddly calm. Forward that to Ethics Council, I told Valeria, and draft a response. Tell him if he wants to play dirty, I have 5 years of text messages from when his client was my best friend, including the ones where she detailed her plans to seduce my husband. You kept those? Bethany asked. I kept everything. I gathered my files. I just never had a reason to use them before. The press will be at the hearing tomorrow, Valeria warned. Good. I headed for the door. Because I have something to say to them. Quinn, Bethany's voice stopped me. What are you planning? I turned back. Remember what you taught me? Sometimes the best defense is a strong offense. And sometimes, she countered, it's knowing when to show mercy. Mercy? I laughed. Like the mercy Marley showed me when I was grieving my baby? Like the mercy she's showing those kids? Just remember, Bethany said softly, revenge and justice aren't always the same thing. I nodded, but as I walked out, I couldn't help thinking they might be this time. Because tomorrow, in that courtroom, Marley would learn what happens when you underestimate someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when I arrived. Marley had already made her entrance, playing the devastated mother perfectly in a conservative blue dress and pearls. I adjusted my grip on my briefcase and started up the stairs. Ms. Nichols, is it true you're representing your ex-husband? How do you respond to allegations of a vendetta? What about the conflict of interest? I stopped, turning to face the cameras. I'll make one statement. This case isn't about me, my ex-husband, or his current wife. It's about 2 children who deserve to have their best interests represented without bias or manipulation. That's what I intend to do. Inside, Trey waited by the courtroom doors, looking worse than yesterday. They're not letting me see the kids, he whispered as I approached. Marley's claiming I'm a flight risk. Did you try to contact them? Just Tommy's teacher. I wanted to make sure he was okay after... He swallowed hard. After what happened last weekend. Tell me everything, I said, leading him to a quiet corner. Tommy had a meltdown at drop-off, said he didn't want to go with her. When I tried to calm him down, Marley started recording, saying I was emotionally manipulating him. His hands shook. Then yesterday, Sarah's daycare called her about bruises on Sarah's arms. She blamed me. Before I could respond, Samir approached, his expensive suit matching his shark-like smile. Quinn, always a pleasure, though I must say this is an interesting career choice. Save it, I cut him off. Your emergency motion is baseless and you know it. Is it? He pulled out his phone. I have video of Mr. Wheeler physically restraining his son during a custody exchange. Quite disturbing footage. You mean the video of a father comforting his distraught child? I smiled back. The same video where your client can be heard threatening to make daddy pay? Please submit it. The judge should see everything. His smile faltered slightly. We have other evidence. Of course you do. Just like you had evidence 5 years ago. I stepped closer. How's your daughter, Samir? Still at Brighton Academy? Same school as Tommy, right? He stiffened. Are you threatening? Not at all. Just wondering if she's mentioned the incident last month. The one where Tommy came to school with bruises after a weekend with his mother. The one the school reported to CPS. The courtroom doors opened before he could respond. Inside, Marley sat at the plaintiff's table, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. She didn't look at me as we passed. Judge Martinez entered, and we all rose. Be seated, she said, reviewing the file. This is an emergency motion for temporary full custody, based on allegations of emotional abuse and financial misconduct. Ms. Nichols, your response? I stood. Your Honor, this motion is nothing but a tactical maneuver designed to prejudice my client before the actual custody hearing. We have evidence that the plaintiff herself is the source of both the financial irregularities and the children's emotional distress. Objection! Samir jumped up. Counsel is making unsubstantiated accusations. If I may, I held up a flash drive. We have documentation of unauthorized transfers made from Mr. Wheeler's accounts using Mrs. Wheeler's IP address. We also have testimony from the children's teachers about concerning behavior and statements made by both children after visits with their mother. Judge Martinez frowned. Mr. Rodriguez, did you receive these documents? No, Your Honor. because they don't exist. This is a desperate attempt by counsel to protect her ex-husband. Actually, I interrupted, pulling out another file. I'd like to address that. Your Honor, I move to submit these text messages as evidence of the plaintiff's pattern of manipulation and false allegations. Marley's head snapped up, her eyes meeting mine for the first time. I saw the moment she realized which messages I meant. Your Honor, Samir protested, any personal communications between Ms. Nichols and my client from years ago are irrelevant. They're extremely relevant, I countered, as they establish a pattern of behavior that directly relates to the current allegations, including Mrs. Wheeler's documented history of fabricating evidence to achieve her goals. The judge held up her hand. I've heard enough. This emergency motion is denied. However, she fixed me with a stern look. Ms. Nichols, while there's no technical conflict of interest here, I'm concerned about the personal history involved. Your Honor, I said quietly, I understand the concern, but I also understand these children's situation better than most. I've seen firsthand what Mrs. Wheeler is capable of. These kids need someone who can't be manipulated or intimidated into backing down. Judge Martinez studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Very well. Regular custody hearing remains scheduled for next week. We're adjourned. As people filed out, Marley brushed past me, whispering, You'll regret this. I caught her arm. No, Marley, you will, because this time I'm ready for you. She yanked away, but I saw the flash of fear in her eyes. Good, she should be afraid, because I had only shown her the tip of the iceberg. And the rest? That would come out in court. Tommy, can you tell me about what happened at school last month? I kept my voice gentle, watching the 4-year-old boy push a toy car across the table in the courthouse interview room. Mommy said not to talk about it, he mumbled, not meeting my eyes. It's okay, the court-appointed child advocate assured him. You can tell Ms. Quinn anything. Tommy glanced at the door, then leaned closer to me. I got in trouble because I couldn't sit still. My arms hurt. Why did your arms hurt? Before he could answer, the door burst open. Marley stormed in, Samir right behind her. This interview is over, she snapped, reaching for Tommy. You had no right. I had every right, I stood, blocking her path. This is a court-ordered evaluation. With his father's lawyer, please, she turned to the advocate. She's biased. She's trying to poison my son against me. Mrs. Wheeler, the advocate said firmly, this is a supervised interview. If you interrupt again, I'll have to report it to the judge. Marley's perfect mask slipped for just a second, revealing something ugly underneath. She smoothed her expression quickly, but I'd seen it. So had Tommy, who pressed himself against my leg. Fine. She straightened her designer jacket. But my attorney stays. Of course, I said smoothly. He can witness Tommy telling us about the bruises. Samir touched Marley's arm. Perhaps we should... No. She knelt by Tommy. Sweetie, remember what we talked about? About keeping our special secrets? Mrs. Wheeler, the advocate stood. You cannot coach the witness. I pulled out my phone, hitting record. Please repeat what you just said to your son. Turn that off, Samir demanded. Make me. A commotion outside saved us from further argument. Zoe burst in, waving a tablet. Quinn, you need to see this. Now. I followed her into the hallway, where she showed me a social media post. A woman named Rachel had gone viral describing her experience working as Marley's personal assistant 2 years ago. She claims Marley made her falsify documents, Zoe explained. Bank statements, emails, everything. Says she has proof. Find her, I said. Get her in front of a judge. Already done. She's willing to testify. Zoe hesitated. But Quinn, she also mentioned something else, about Marley having an affair. With who? Samir. I felt the pieces click into place. The aggressive legal strategy, the convenient evidence, the way they worked together so smoothly. Get me everything you can on both of them, I told Zoe. Bank records, hotel receipts, anything. Back in the interview room, Marley was whispering intensely to Samir. They both looked up when I entered, and I couldn't help but notice how close they were standing. "Interview's over," I announced. "But don't worry, we got enough." "This is harassment," Marley hissed. "I'll file a complaint with the Bar Association." "Go ahead," I smiled. "While you're at it, explain why your attorney's credit card paid for a room at the Marina Hotel last weekend. The same weekend you told Trey you were visiting your sister." The color drained from both their faces. Samir recovered first. "That's a baseless accusation." "Is it? Because Rachel has some interesting things to say about your professional relationship." Marley grabbed her purse. "Come on, Tommy." "Actually," the advocate interjected, "given what's transpired here, I'm recommending Tommy stay with his father pending our next hearing." "You can't do that." "She can," I said, "and she will. Unless you'd like to explain to the judge why you were coaching your son to keep secrets." Marley's face contorted with rage. "You think you're so clever, don't you? Using my past mistakes against me?" "No, Marley, I'm using your present mistakes against you." I stepped closer. "The difference is, this time I have proof." She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. "I destroyed you once. I can do it again." "Mrs. Wheeler," the advocate warned, "remove your hand, or I'll call security." Marley let go, but her eyes promised violence. "This isn't over." "You're right," I agreed. "It's just beginning." After they left, Zoe hugged me. "You okay?" I watched Tommy leave with the advocate, heading to meet Trey. The little boy looked back at me and gave a tiny wave. "I'm fine," I said. "But we need to move fast. Get that witness ready." "And Zoe?" "Yeah?" "Tell Bethany to pull the security footage from this interview. I want the judge to see exactly how Marley acts when she thinks no one's watching." "Already on it." Zoe squeezed my hand. "You're going to win this. It's not about winning anymore." I gathered my files, thinking of Tommy's frightened eyes and Marley's threats. It's about making sure she can never hurt anyone else again. But as I left the courthouse, I couldn't shake the feeling that Marley had one more card to play. And whatever it was, it would be devastating. The email arrived at midnight. No subject line, just an attachment. The sender was anonymous, but I knew exactly who it was from. I called Valeria immediately. "Check your inbox. I'm forwarding something." A moment later, "Holy shit, is this real?" "Looks like it." I stared at the photo on my screen. Me, 5 years ago, in the parking lot of a mental health clinic. She must have had someone following me back then. "Quinn, this could destroy your reputation. The timestamp. This was 2 days before you took the bar exam, when I was supposedly too unstable to function." I laughed bitterly. "She's going to leak it to the press." My doorbell rang, making me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Zoe holding up a bottle of wine. "I have to go," I told Valeria. "Meeting tomorrow? First thing?" I opened the door for my sister, who took one look at my face and said, "What did she do now?" I showed her the email while pouring us both generous glasses of wine. Zoe's expression darkened as she read. "That manipulative bit." She stopped mid-word as her phone buzzed. "Wait, Rachel just sent me something. You need to see this." She pulled up a video on her phone. It showed Marley in an office arguing with someone off camera. Where did this come from? Rachel secretly recorded it when she worked for Marley. Watch. In the video, Marley was furious. "I don't care what it takes," she snarled. "Doctor the documents. Make it look like he's embezzling. I want him ruined." "That's about Trey," I breathed. "This proves she set him up." "Keep watching," Marley continued. "Once the board forces him out, I'll get primary custody. Then we can finally be together." The camera shifted, revealing Samir stepping into frame. "Got you," I whispered. My phone rang. Trey. "Quinn, someone broke into my house." I sat up straight. "Are you okay? The kids?" "We're fine. We were at my parents', but they took my laptop and some files, the ones with the original financial records." "Call the police," I ordered. "I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, I stood in Trey's ransacked home office while police photographed the scene. Zoe had come with me and was now helping Trey calm the kids upstairs. "This was professional," the detective said, pointing out the clean cuts on the window lock. "They knew exactly what they were looking for." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Back off, or the photos go public. Your career won't survive the scandal. I showed it to the detective. Add this to the report. It's connected. Ms. Nichols? A young officer called from the hallway. We found something. He led us to the kitchen where a small recording device was taped under the sink. Place has been bugged. Check everywhere, the detective ordered. Ms. Nichols, given the circumstances, you might want to sweep your office too. I was already texting Bethany when Zoe came downstairs. Kids are asleep, Trey's with them. She lowered her voice. Quinn, Sarah said something about Uncle Sam coming to visit Mommy when Daddy's not home. Uncle Sam? The detective looked up. Samir Rodriguez? Her attorney, I confirmed, and apparently much more. I'll need statements from both children. Through proper channels, I insisted. They've been through enough trauma. Back in the office, Trey was going through his remaining files. The backup drive is gone too. Without those records, we don't need them anymore. I showed him Rachel's video. We have this instead. He watched, his face hardening. She set me up, all of it. The company, the kids, everything. It was all a setup. Mr. Wheeler? The detective returned. We found 3 more listening devices. Based on the model, they've been here at least 6 months. 6 months, Trey repeated. That's when I first suspected the financial irregularities. My phone buzzed again. Another anonymous email. This time, more photos. Me outside my therapist's office. At a grief support group. Private moments from my darkest days, all documented. She's getting desperate, Zoe observed. Good. I started typing a response. Because so am I. What are you going to do? I hit send, then showed them my reply. Release whatever you want. I'm not ashamed of getting help after what you did. But remember, the truth always comes out. And I have so much more truth to share. Quinn, Trey said quietly, you don't have to risk everything for us. I'm not doing it for you. I watched the police bag evidence, thinking of Tommy's bruises and Sarah's fear. I'm doing it because someone needs to stop her, and because 5 years ago I wasn't strong enough to fight back, but I am now. My phone lit up with Marley's response. Tomorrow, 8 a.m., the cafe where we used to meet. Come alone. I showed it to the detective, who immediately said, We'll wire you. No. I grabbed my coat. She'll be watching, but don't worry, I'll be recording everything. Because this time, when Marley tried to destroy someone's life, she'd find her target ready and waiting, and I had nothing left to lose. The cafe looked exactly the same as it had 5 years ago, when Marley and I would meet for our weekly coffee dates. Back when I thought she was my best friend. Back before she destroyed my life. She sat at our old table, stirring her latte. Same perfect makeup, same expensive highlights, same calculated smile when she saw me. Quinn, you came alone? As requested. I sat down, declining the waitress's offer of coffee. Let's skip the small talk. Always so direct. She sighed. That's your problem, you know. No subtlety. Unlike you, breaking into Trey's house, bugging his office, following me 5 years ago, that kind of subtlety. Her smile didn't waver. I have no idea what you're talking about. Really? Should we call Samir and ask him? I pulled out my phone, showing her the cafe's security camera feed streaming live to my screen. Or should we ask the detective watching from across the street? Finally, the smile cracked. You stupid bitch, you think you're so clever? No, Marley, I think I'm done playing games. I leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to drop the custody case, confess to the financial fraud, leave Trey's kids alone. She laughed. Or what? You'll release that video of me and Samir? Go ahead. I'll just claim it's doctored, like everything else. Everything else? Like the evidence you planted to frame Trey? Prove it. Her eyes glittered. Oh, wait, you can't, because those records are gone. Actually, I pulled out a USB drive. Rachel kept copies, of everything, including your emails planning the whole thing. The color drained from her face. She wouldn't dare. She already has. She's giving her statement to the DA right now. I checked my watch. along with 3 other former employees you've threatened or blackmailed. Marley's hand shook as she reached for her coffee. I'll deny it all. It's my word against theirs. And the kids? What about Tommy's bruises? Sarah's Uncle Sam visits? You bitch, she hissed. You turned them against me. No, you did that yourself. I stood up. It's over, Marley. Walk away now, or I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. She grabbed my wrist. I'll release those photos. Everyone will know you had a breakdown. No one will trust you to practice law again. Go ahead. I pulled free. Because I've already released them myself. What? I showed her my phone again, this time displaying my firm's website. There, in a new blog post, was my story. The miscarriage, the betrayal, the therapy, the recovery, everything. You see, I said quietly, you can't shame someone who's not ashamed. You can't threaten someone who's already faced their worst fears. You're bluffing, she whispered, but I saw the panic in her eyes. Check your phone. She did. Her face went white as messages started pouring in. The story was already going viral. Here's the deal, I continued. Sign these papers. I placed a folder on the table. Full custody to Trey, a confession about the financial fraud, a restraining order keeping you away from the kids. You can't, or I release everything else. The videos, the emails, the testimony from your former employees, everything. You'd destroy my life? Her voice cracked. After all we meant to each other? Like you destroyed mine? I stood up. The difference is I'm giving you a choice, more than you ever gave me. She stared at the papers for a long moment. Then, with shaking hands, she reached for a pen. I want to see my kids, she whispered. That's up to the court, and their therapist. I watched her sign. But first, you need help, Marley. Real help. She looked up at me, and for a moment I saw something real in her eyes. Fear, maybe even regret. What happens now? Now? I gathered the signed papers. Now you leave, move away, start over. But if you ever come near those kids again, you'll destroy me, she finished. No. I shook my head. You've already done that yourself. As I walked out, the detective met me at the door. We got it all on camera. The DA's ready to move on the fraud charges. Good. I handed him the signed confession. Make sure Samir's included in the investigation. My phone buzzed. Trey. Is it done? It's done, I texted back. The kids are safe. Walking to my car, I felt lighter than I had in years. Not because I'd won, but because I'd finally faced my past and come out stronger. My phone rang. Bethany. I saw the blog post, she said. You okay? Better than okay. I smiled, watching Marley leave the cafe in tears. I'm free. And the kids? They're free too. I started my car. That's all that matters. Because in the end, this wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. And sometimes, they look exactly the same. All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Martinez presiding. I stood beside Trey as the judge entered, my case files organized and ready. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, law students, and what seemed like half the legal community had come to witness the final hearing. Marley's seat was empty. According to her new attorney, she'd checked herself into a treatment facility the day after our cafe meeting. Part of me hoped she'd actually get the help she needed. Before we proceed, Judge Martinez began, I want to acknowledge the unusual circumstances of this case. Ms. Nichols, your public statement about your personal connection to this matter has raised some eyebrows in the legal community. Yes, Your Honor. However, she continued, your transparency and professional conduct throughout these proceedings have been exemplary. The court appreciates your handling of this sensitive situation. I nodded, feeling Trey's tension beside me. Given the evidence presented, including Mrs. Wheeler's signed confession and subsequent actions, I'm prepared to rule on the custody arrangement. The judge looked directly at Trey. Mr. Wheeler, please stand. He stood, hands trembling slightly. The court grants you full custody of Thomas and Sarah Wheeler. Mrs. Wheeler's visitation rights will be suspended pending completion of her treatment program and psychiatric evaluation. Furthermore, she shuffled some papers. The restraining order will remain in effect for the children's protection. I heard Trey's shaky exhale of relief. Your Honor, I said, regarding the financial allegations against my client? Yes. Given Mrs. Wheeler's confession and the evidence provided by former employees, all charges against Mr. Wheeler have been dropped. The DA's office will be handling the fraud case against Mrs. Wheeler and Mr. Rodriguez separately. As we gathered our things after adjournment, Bethany approached with Valeria. Impressive work, Bethany said, hugging me. Though I hear the State Bar Association wants to talk to you. My stomach dropped. About what? About heading their new ethics committee, she grinned. Apparently, your blog post about maintaining professional integrity while handling personal trauma has become required reading at 3 law schools. Speaking of reading, Valeria added, you might want to check your emails. The women's advocacy groups are fighting over who gets to have you as their keynote speaker. Before I could respond, I heard a small voice. Ms. Quinn! Tommy ran up, Sarah toddling behind him with Zoe. The little boy crashed into my legs, hugging tight. Thank you for helping my daddy, he said. I knelt down to his level. You helped too, buddy. You were very brave. Will we see Mommy again? I glanced at Trey, who nodded slightly. When she's feeling better, and only if you want to, but for now you're going to stay with your daddy, okay? Sarah reached for my hand with her tiny fingers. Story time? Actually, Trey said, I was hoping we could all get ice cream to celebrate. Ice cream! Tommy bounced excitedly. Quinn? Trey looked at me uncertainly. Would you join us? 5 years ago, this invitation would have broken me. Now, looking at these children who'd somehow worked their way into my heart, I felt only peace. I'd love to, I said. But first, I walked over to the prosecution's table where Samir's case files lay. His disbarment hearing was next week, and my testimony would ensure he never practiced law again. Justice comes in many forms, Bethany said, following my gaze. Yes, I agreed. But mercy does too. I turned to Trey. You know what? Let's skip ice cream. I know a great park with an amazing playground. These kids could probably use some sunshine. Tommy's face lit up. Can we feed the ducks? Absolutely. As we walked out of the courthouse, reporters called my name asking for statements. I stopped briefly. The only statement I have is this. The truth always finds its way to the light. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't in winning, but in helping others heal. At the park, watching Tommy and Sarah laugh on the swings while Trey pushed them, Zoe sat beside me on a bench. You know, she said, when you took this case, I thought you were either crazy or masochistic. Maybe a little of both. But now I get it. This was never about Trey or Marlee. No, I agreed. It was about doing what's right, even when it hurts. About facing your demons and realizing they don't control you anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from Bethany. Women's Crisis Center board meeting tomorrow. They want you to lead their legal advocacy program. You in? I looked at the kids playing, at Trey's relieved smile, at the life I'd built from the ashes of betrayal. I'm in, I texted back. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something beautiful from something broken. It's helping others find their strength. It's remembering that even in our darkest moments, we have the power to choose justice over vengeance, healing over hurt. And as I joined Tommy and Sarah at the duck pond, their small hands trustingly in mine, I knew I'd made the right choice. This was my victory. Not because I'd won, but because I'd helped break a cycle of pain. And in doing so, I'd finally set myself free.